Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, and it is indeed a good morning. The Jazz moved up in the draft. They didn't move back. Every game they lost really mattered, as it turned out. They caught Sacramento. They tied them. They won a coin flip. And the team with the fifth odds moved back to 7, and the team with the fourth odds moved up to 2. The Jazz got it right, and the Kings fans are angry. Not as angry as the Indiana Pacer fans, who gave up their first-round draft pick because it wasn't top 4. It was top 4 protected, but they didn't land in the top 4. So the Pacers had a terrible season and hand the pick over to the Clippers, who will draft 5. Yikes. But you know what? That's somebody else's problem. What we care about here is the Jazz are drafting 2. And the Washington Wizards are drafting 1. And the Wizards have already said, we might be up for moving back in the draft, if we could get 2 or 3 players. Aha. So, let the bidding begin. The poker game has started. How close will Austin Ainge play the cards to his chest? How hard a bargain will he drive? Can they move up and get to Bansa? How badly do they want AJ? Bum, bum, bum. And if they can't move up and get him, do they want whoever's going to be 2, or would they be content to move back to 3 or 4? Because do they really like, Boozer or Caleb Wilson? There's all kinds of drama and intrigue to play out over the next month, or 6 weeks, actually, to the draft. We got to wait out the playoffs first. And speaking of the playoffs, so when Victor Wembanyama doesn't play, the Spurs aren't very good. How about that? How about that for some insightful analysis? He had a terrible game in Game 1, and they lost. And then he got himself kicked out for an elbow in Game 2. And I have to say, I'm not surprised he got kicked out for that elbow. Did you see it? Holy cow. He was getting held, but then he elbowed somebody else. There was really no self-defense involved. He just hauled off and whacked a guy. And it turns out in the NBA these days, you can get kicked out for that, even if you are Victor Wembanyama. So there you go. So Minnesota then wins. It's now 2-2. If Wembanyama could just stay on the court and play well, I think the Spurs win the series. But maybe he can't. Oklahoma's sitting over there. They get a shot at sweeping the Lakers tonight. Nobody's beaten them in the playoffs yet. And everything else, I guess I am a little surprised that Philly, after beating Boston in that 7-game upset, couldn't win a single game off the Knicks. New York kind of made Boston look bad. I think if you're a Knicks fan, and you got pretty good rivalries, both Boston and Philly, you're pumped you swept Philly, and now you can turn at Boston and giggle like, you lost to those guys? But really, the Knicks have to focus on what is next, which is getting into the NBA Finals, because they are into the Eastern Conference Finals, waiting for the winner of the Detroit-Cleveland series, which, could ultimately be a pretty intriguing series. Cleveland won Game 3, so that's Detroit's up 2-1 in that. And, we'll see where it goes from here. Maybe that goes on a while, and I'm not sure the Knicks want it to go on too long. I can remember once upon a time, the Jazz had to wait 10 days to play the Bulls, and they weren't exactly sharp after a 10-day layoff. So, there's something to consider there. Game 4 in that series in Cleveland tonight. We'll see if Detroit goes up 3-1 or Cleveland ties it 2-2. Other news from the weekend, the RSL road trip to Houston or to Dallas. Yeah, they didn't go well. It didn't go well at all. I would say they played their worst 45 minutes of the season in the first half. Second half was a little better. They're already down 2 goals. And they did score finally, and so just when you thought there was going to be some drama, then they gave up another goal. They should probably stop giving up goals off corner kicks. That'd be my, you win a corner kick, you're supposed to score. You're not supposed to let somebody run 100 yards the other way and score. So that seems to be a little problem that needs to be straightened out. They lose 3-1, completely disorganized. We'll play a little bit of Pablo here of his post-game comments, and he just did not like their shape. Guys weren't in the right place. It harmed their build-up. They got stuck. They couldn't find a way forward with the ball, and so it looked ugly. And there you go. And they got to figure it out Wednesday. They don't have a lot of time or a lot of training sessions here to figure it out, or film sessions either, but they got to figure it out. They got Houston and Colorado coming in Wednesday and Saturday. So a lot of points. The teams who are right behind them in the standings, Dallas was behind them, but now they're tied with them after that win. All right, let's hear from Pablo after the game right here on The Zone.
Hey, Coach. Good evening. I want to ask, what was lacking in the first half to get in that hole?
Yeah, great question. And we just talked about it with the group. Our structure was really, really poor. And That was the biggest thing. Our especially against the back four. What's made us a really good dynamic attacking team has been, maintaining structure, right? And our tens were drifting beyond their line of the midfield, and so we were overloading them in deeper positions. And as you saw, most of our possession was in deeper areas, right? So I think, again, losing games are going to happen. The one important take from this game is that, well, the most important thing about losing games is that we don't lose any game in vain. That as a group, we commit to our structure. And why do we do that? Is because when you have structure, that's where creativity spawns from, because you know where players are going to be. But when players start going rogue and occupying other spaces and not threatening their back line, you get the first half that we got, right? And so then the other piece of that is transition defending. The first one, it's we just got to do a better job in closing down the middle and how we recover centrally to close those spots, and the free kick, again, that was a bit of structure as well, and making sure players are in good spots, but it's also reactions, right? And again, the goals that we've conceded this year have been mostly us, I feel like, and it's about, when you're dynamic in the attack, sometimes you overcompensate and you want the ball, but there's also another phase of that, which is our transition D. And when we've been great this season, that has been a critical component to allowing us to continue to attack. So some things those are the real prevalent ones that we'll address in lieu of these next two home games.
And then just asking about I want to ask about the kids' response, especially you put them on the field second half, you're chasing the game, but to just jump in and trying to be protagonists late in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, listen, the most important thing is and the guys did it in the second half, is that we're trying to win. We're trying to win games, and I think that's what's been really unique about this team is, they go for it. And sometimes in the second half of games this year, other teams have thrown more numbers forward and asked some real questions that have changed it. I think for us, I think when you're down a couple goals, the guys that are going to really take the biggest risks are sometimes the younger players. All right, they haven't been jaded by the game, and so I think the guys that came in did a really good job of again trying to impose ourselves on the game and try to get some box entries and find ways to score goals. Obviously, they dropped into a really low block, and a lot of that. I think if we start the game with that fashion and have 5 on the highest line, this game becomes a lot different. So. Again, got to take our medicine and learn from it, and really attack the next two games with a different type of structure and mentality that puts us in a good position to win the game.
Do you think this is the kind of loss that can accelerate growth for a younger group, or do you find it mostly frustrating because of things that you've talked about beforehand?
I think, I think it's a bit frustrating, but what I also realize as I'm reflecting is, I played the game for the longest time, and I don't know at what point these moments became solidified as an experienced player. And so it's really kind of removing myself and empathizing that maybe again, we need to continue to harp on the little things that make the big difference. So I think it will increase learning, I think, because we have a real honest group. And what I said is, when we win games, it's everyone's fingerprint on it. And when we lose games, it's all of ours, coaching staff, coaches, mine. It's not just the players on the field. And so I think it's really important to use every even when we win games, there's so many moments to learn. And I think if we get one game better, and I said to the guys is like, I'm the kind of coach that loves for players to express themselves. I think it's a player's game. But I'm also responsible for the whole team. And so we don't want to have another game where we come in at halftime and talk about the structure, right? And I think that's what this game really cements for me. The transition goals, we're going to fix those. But it's really about the things that we've been good at, we've moved away from in this first half. And in the second half, again, we got him, one of the first couple plays, we got him behind them, and all of a sudden it starts to put doubt in what they're doing defensively. We never threatened them in the first half with any runs behind, and that's been something that's been so electric in the way we do things. So I understand that there's a lot of, players want to make the game, but it's also trusting that the players behind you are going to find you in good pockets so that you can play your game. And the reason why they've been so good is because they've been holding their positions and making plays from those positions, just like Luna did in the second half. So first half he didn't find himself anywhere near the box. In the second half, he had a lot of great touches, great actions in and around the box. And so it's just constantly reinforcing what's made us a good team. And I think this game will highlight that, and hopefully we won't have to revisit that moving forward.
So it looked like in the first half, he was a lot further back for a lot of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And while the spacing was good in your attacking third, there wasn't a lot of threat.
Correct.
When Deej towards the end of the first half, when Deej got into that scrum, right, and threw whatever that was into the stands, it looked like the entire group took a charge from that.
Yeah.
What did you see from Deej or Diego as the emotional engine of your attack in the second half?
Yeah. Again, I think he is an emotional leader for this group, and I think it's at times, from afar, what he likes to do. And what I said to both him and Morgan is, you'll know in the game if the game is calling for one of our 10s to drop in or drop wide. You'll know because our pivots aren't able to find them, or our wingbacks aren't able to find them. And they have the autonomy to find those spaces, right? And that's the beauty of it. But you also have to be patient to let the pivots do their thing so that they can find you in dangerous areas. And against the back four, we weren't expecting a back four. They haven't, they haven't played it against any team in the five. And so if you have the five across the front and even Deej in these areas, now you're asking their outside back to rotate to defend our wing back. And that's going to give us a +1 on the back line. So it's how do you separate the emotional aspect of a soccer player, in particular Diego, who's always wanting to get on the ball, and give him a lot of that, but also understanding that if we hold our structure, you're going to get so many chances. More importantly, we're going to be a dangerous attacking team, which we couldn't get into in the first half. But again, credit to him and Morgan in the second half. I think they were catalysts, and Serge as well, and the catalyst to really bring us forward and give us a bunch of opportunities on goal. And the last bit is, our transition defending that we have to continue to improve upon if we're going to be a team that kind of dictates and our protagonists with the ball.
Thank you. And then just last one for me, watching the statistics all through the match from say like 10 minutes on, the RSL always had 60% or greater, finished with 73% of possession, 32 touches in the box, 2 shots on goal. Was Dallas hitting you with man-on-man like you talked about Miami doing, or what were they doing so well that was counteracting what you guys were trying to do?
Yeah, I think a lot of those touches in the box came in the second half when we changed and we started, when our structure was good, and that's where you get most of those touches. And again, I think that's something important to emphasize to the group. This is when we're dangerous. This is when we can actually take the game by the scruff of the neck. The first half, it really wasn't. We had a lot of possession, and again, I think it was in the our build third. Hoffa was on the ball quite a bit, and anytime you see Hoffa with so much action and touches, it probably means our 10s are dropping deep. So we're overloading their midfield, but now we have a wing back, and Serge all alone, but we have no one in those pockets, and those pockets are the ones that dictate the attacking game, right? And so. But the game is what it is, and again, it doesn't have to be possession. It can be in transition. They can sit in a block and break as they did. But again, I think our challenge as a group is to understand like all the different formations that we're up against, all the different game states that we're up against, and continue to evolve as a group. And so today was a fantastic learning opportunity for all of us, and we'll get one game better.
You don't have a lot of time to work with the guys. With 3 games and 8 days coming up, so whatever work you're gonna do, you're gonna have to do here in front of it. What is you've talked about several things here. What is the priority to really get in these guys? So it's like bedrock stuff. You can count on that they know it and apply it, regardless of what the next opponent does to you.
Yeah, I would just go back to the structure, DJ, and again, I can show them a ton of clips from all our goals where we have our 10s in the pockets, we have our 9 up front, and the combinations with Serge, Diego, and Morgan only come from structure. When Surge is isolated at the top and our 10s are so far back, like the goal that we conceded with Surge, he had no one to bounce the ball off of. He had no combination players in between the lines. And so that's what you end up getting is very static actions. And, we put him on an island up there. Those guys are beating him up front. But I guarantee you, if we had those guys in the pockets in the first half, now they're going to really think about playing so tight to Surge, right? Because now you have a set from Surge to Luna and Morgan running behind. Now that's going to ask some real questions of their back line. But as long as we have our 10s beyond their midfield, it's not asking any questions. So the biggest takeaway for me for this game is, and I said to the guys, let's make a promise to ourselves that we're never going to come in at halftime again and talk about structure. And so that's because again, it's just amazing how emotions and games and I can imagine social media and all these things start to affect the individual. But we just have to dial it back down and get back to the basics. And so that is for me the biggest takeaway for this game.
There is RSL coach Pablo Mastroeni. Okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we shift gears, and John Nabors and Michael Lev, our spring football tour. We will take a lap around the Big 12. That's coming up. Coming up next, we'll hear from Nabors and Lev. Stay with us, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. For Utah, they've got the University of Arkansas on the roster or on the schedule in their non-conference schedule. And John Nabors joins us now, owner of Inside Arkansas and host of Locked On Razorbacks. John, good morning.
Good morning. How's everybody out there in the great state of Utah?
Well, we just said goodbye to the hockey playoffs. We're waiting for the lottery with the NBA and the Jazz. And in the meantime, we're thinking college football, John. So we're pretty good. We got options.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I wish hockey was a bigger deal here in Arkansas, but unfortunately it's like basketball transfer portal is about as crazy as it's getting right now for Arkansas fans. So, but we're all over the place.
Utah's playing Arkansas in football. Arkansas is coming off a 2-10 season and with 10 straight losses. So that tells people a lot right there. But if you look a little closer, 5 of those were by a field goal or less. A couple of them were one-pointers. How much of a base is there to build off this team, and how much is it hit the transfer portal and fix this? Because 2-10's a mess.
Yeah, well, I'm going to take you one step further into this whole debacle that is called Razorback football. Not only have they, of course, as you mentioned, gone 2-10 and lost 10 straight games and had some of those close losses, since 2012, since the day that Bobby Petrino wrecked his motorcycle on that infamous day nearly 15 years ago, the Razorback football program in one-possession games has gone 17-49. Let me repeat that. 17-49 in one-possession games since 2012. If you want to know why Arkansas as a football program is not being viewed in the way that maybe it once did, or at least viewed in a way that's respectable, there's your reasoning right there. And so now you have a new coach in Ryan Silverfield. You have essentially a new roster. I believe over 80% of the roster brand new, mainly from the transfer portal. You have some new freshmen. You have a complete clean slate inside the football program, and it just happens to be at a great time when they make it 9 SEC football games. You got Georgia being your first SEC football game, but of course the Utah team that you mentioned, they got to get through. So it's a tough thing to navigate, but it's interesting because obviously in the SEC, Arkansas has not had that much success over the past decade. In fact, in the past 10 years, Arkansas, five of those 10 seasons, half of them have ended with 1 win or less in SEC play. Just can't happen. So this is trying to rejuvenate the program. And to me, that Utah game, game 2, is by far the most important game of the season this year.
Yeah, and they got to come all the way out here facing a team that has his quarterback back, and at 11-2, they obviously made a bunch of coaching changes, but they're expected to be good. And they do have their quarterback back with Dampier. And for Arkansas, I understand it's a two-way battle between KJ Jackson and AJ Hill. Tell me, which of those initials is going to win it?
I think it's going to be KJ Jackson. I think it's always been KJ Jackson from the jump, and I think that's the way that they've approached it has been more of a coaching type of mentality of just trying to not give too much out there and give everybody a puncher's chance. Because here's the thing. When Ryan Silverfield was hired, the day he was hired, he had 2 players that were currently on the roster be kind of part of that and part of that announcement to get people excited. One of them was Quincy Rhodes, the defensive end, which by far was the biggest get because he was a player that, despite going 2-10, he was a player that a lot of NFL draft experts had going in second round, in some cases maybe even a possible first round at the defensive end position. But the other player was KJ Jackson, who was the backup quarterback last year for Taylor Green, came in and started one game, played a little bit, but that was the other one. And I just don't think that you would have gone through, if you are Ryan Silverfield, through all of that process and all of that rigmarole and bringing him back and showcasing him and all that, if KJ Jackson was not going to be the quarterback. So I think he's the guy. I think he's going to end up being the guy. Is it by default? Is it because they have no better option? That's the ultimate question. But I do believe when it's all said and done, KJ Jackson is going to be the QB1 for Arkansas.
Reading up on spring football in Arkansas, I was surprised to see that you still get to see fairly significant portions of the spring practices, and it's been duly noted the same offensive line keeps rolling out there. Is that a sign that they've actually got a really good O-line, or is that a sign that there's a lack of depth and by default it's these 5 guys? How do you feel about that group?
Well, as far as your practice thing, yeah, they had to do that for sure because under Pittman and everything, it was locked down, and they're trying to do some things to try to get the fan base back. I don't think that they've done enough, but they're still at least trying to open it up and be more accessible to the team, which is nice. But as far as the offensive line goes, I believe that it's a middle-of-the-pack SEC offensive lineman. I don't think it's horrible. It's not bad. I mean, you're returning 2 starters from last year's offensive line with Caden Kittler at the center position, which is extremely important, and also Kobe Branham, who's a young player who has a lot of promise. So you have him, and then you added some guys that really were some good gets out of the transfer portal, whether it's Bryant Williams, came from a smaller school but had a lot of different offers. I know Tennessee was trying to get after him and get him on the team, but you got him. You brought some guys over from Memphis that I know Ryan Silverfield was really big on too. And ironically enough, Ryan Silverfield, his background is offensive line. Like that's where he really got his start going. And during the spring practices, not only did I like the depth and like what I saw from some of the things from the offensive line, but you also had Ryan Silverfield over there the majority of the time working with him. As a head coach, he's always going everywhere, but with the individual drills, the vast majority of the times that I got to see, he's over there with the offensive line. So you would think, I know this didn't go the right way with Pittman, but you would think that if your head coach is by trade and his background is offensive line, that should mean your offensive line should be your strength or at least one of your strengths. So time will tell. But I think where it stands right now as far as the roster goes, they're a fine offensive line, but I think they're far from being a bad offensive line.
He brought his offensive coordinator from Memphis with him, and so looking at Memphis, they've usually had a good offensive line, or not offensive line, just an offensive unit. We expect much of the same in the way Memphis ran its offense.
I think so. I mean, you don't do that. You don't come in here and say, all right, we're going to change what made us successful for the past 6 or 7 years, the past times that we were there in Memphis. Like, we're not going to do that. So I think we're going to see something similar. And I'm just basing off of personnel. I think that this offense is going to be based where it's not going to be flashy. And not to say they don't have good players. It's just not going to be the offense that we saw maybe the past couple of seasons with Arkansas and Bobby Petrino or anything like that. I think it's going to be focusing so much on controlling the time of possession, limiting turnovers, limiting mistakes, and just trying to grind out some games. If Arkansas is going to win some games, especially big games this year, it's going to be ugly games. It's going to be low scoring, kind of boring, whatever, which, hey, that's fine as long as you win. But just given the circumstances, I think that it's not going to be an offense that we're going to look at the end of the season and be like, man, that was a fun offense to watch, which is fine. I think it's just going to be a lot more efficient of an offense because they're really focusing on that. They're focusing on doing the little things right. And considering the quarterback situation, I'm not very trusting of it. It doesn't look very great right now, just from what I've seen from spring. But running backs, wide receivers, offensive line, I think they have some pieces where they can at least make it a serviceable offense this year.
Are there any difference makers? Anybody the NFL might be drooling over, or is it more the system and everybody's got to execute?
It's really tough, man, because, again, like you've added, literally like 80% is just so many new players in here.
Yeah.
But I will say that there's been some guys that have stood out. Like I really think Braylon Russell, he's been a running back that's one of the few guys that's been retained. He slimmed down a lot. He was a 4-star running back here out of the state of Arkansas, and he's going to enter in his junior year. He's slimmed down, and he looks really good. He looks like the way an SEC running back should look. He looks lighter on his feet. And also Chris Marshall, who's a guy that originally he's a wide receiver, started his career at Texas A&M, transferred around, ended up at Boise State here recently. But he's had some trouble off the field. He's had some issues that are pretty well documented. But his talent level, you see it. Like, you can just look at the guy back. Yeah, there's a reason why Texas A&M wanted him originally. He's definitely a game breaker. So those are the couple ones I would watch as far as, solid guys that you can maybe think that could be game breakers. But other than that, we just haven't really seen enough to know one way or the other.
How about along the defense? Defensive end, Quincy Rhodes, I read a little bit about him. Against Utah, man, they ran the ball like crazy last year. I mean, they were as good as anybody in the country, and they were right there with the service academies, which run the ball all the time. So I'm expecting more of the same with them to be able to run the ball at an extremely high level. I realize they lost 2 offensive linemen to the NFL in the first round, no less. But nevertheless, the history has shown us that Utah can run the ball. So I'm wondering from the defensive perspective to be able to stop them.
Well, I can tell you this, that the defense is going to be much improved from a year ago, because it's hard to not improve from being absolutely god-awful. Like, it just is really, really tough not to at least improve there. But honestly, I think the defense might be the strength of Arkansas, as crazy as it is. Now, that strength may not be enough to win them 10 games, but I think the hiring of Ron Roberts, he's the defensive coordinator who was there at Florida over the past few years, a lot of SEC experience, was at Auburn at one point in time. He brought a great staff, a great recruiting staff, especially over, and he's being very, very creative. It's not just a simple, like, all right, we're going to run a 4-3 defense, have 4-down linemen. And no, he has gotten it to where he has a lot of hybrid position players. He has guys that are DNs as well as linebackers. He has guys that are linebackers as well as cornerbacks. I mean, he's got these hybrid things to where you're going to see a lot of different formations getting run around. And I like the idea of it, because at Arkansas, you're not going to get the big-time upfront dudes all the time like Georgia or Texas or anything like that. So you got to get creative. And I think that the way he's approached it and approaching his personnel is really great. So I think they're going to be better at getting after the quarterback. I think they're going to be better in the secondary, which has been a huge problem for them. But the running attack is going to be interesting because they don't have necessarily the size that you would think. So how are they going to be able to be physical up front? That's where the creativity may come into place. But, I think Arkansas is going to be a better defense. I think that their strength is going to be more so of getting after the quarterback. But that rushing attack, especially going up against a physical team, that's going to be the ultimate challenge, and they'll have an early one against Utah to solve that one.
I'm interested in your levels of defense. If they were truly god-awful, are you looking for just merely hideous, well below average, within reach of mediocrity? Where are you looking here?
Yeah, I'm thinking of just not giving up 80-yard touchdowns every game, something like that. Just kind of being to where you can put lipstick on a pig, don't pardon the pun, and just try to make it work. Because Arkansas's not had a great defense for a long time now, but there is their big plays, it was their penalties. It's just not fundamentally sound. Just being good enough to where, hey, if you can make a few stops, hey, get a couple 3-and-outs, maybe get up an interception or two. Just do some little things like that to make a difference. I think that'll go a long way.
All right, there is John Nabors talking Arkansas football. When we come back, Michael Lev's talking Arizona football. Stay with us. A reminder, join Scotty G and the coach, Tim Lacombe, today at RGS Exteriors, 4235 Farm Road in West Jordan. More football next. Stay with us. DJ PK, we're joined once again by Michael Lev, columnist for the Arizona Daily Star. Our spring football tour continues with the Arizona Wildcats. Michael, good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Great.
We're doing well. The Wildcats 6-3 in Big 12 conference play last year. That was a big bounce back. We know things change quickly for better and worse with NIL. The arrow's up. Does it continue up this year? What is the vibe? What is the thinking as they come out of spring football here?
I think the arrow at the very least kind of stays steady. It would be hard to top last season, although there are some people within the building who do believe that that's possible. The biggest reasons for optimism, I would say, are, of course, things went well last year. As you mentioned, it was a positive turnaround after a very rough first season for Brent Brennan. They retained all of their coordinators, which is a big deal in modern-day football to have that kind of continuity. And they bring back their really, really good quarterback. So that's just kind of a very solid foundation upon which to build.
Yeah, if Fafita was 6'4", the NFL would be all over him, but he's short. But nevertheless, I think he's an excellent quarterback at the college level, and plus he's got all sorts of experience working college, been starting basically for, it seemed like 10 years, not just 2 or 3 or 4. And having the continuity with the coaches when he didn't have it early on is something that's a big deal. As I look at the skill positions, running back, they lost a couple of guys, and Riscano, who I think is viewed as certainly he's the leading rusher, returning just under 400 yards. Quincy Craig, both those guys didn't play a whole lot in spring, if at all. You're high on a kid named Wesley Yarborough, who is 5'10", 210-pound tank. Tell us why you're high on him, because if he's good, combined with the other two guys, they got some depth there at that position.
Yeah, they should be in pretty good shape at running back. They did lose Ismail Mahdi, who was a transfer last season, had a really productive year. But it was kind of a three-headed monster when Kedrick Risino was healthy. He played a lot, very effective in the red zone. Quincy Craig was kind of a third down back, and I would imagine he will resume that third down back type of role. Good blocker, smart, experienced, good pass catcher. And Wesley Yarborough, he played mostly special teams last year as a freshman. He is built very similarly to Kedrick Risino. He is really big and strong and powerful and can run through people, but also has good enough footwork to kind of maneuver in tight spaces on the inside, and really showed progress as a pass catcher during spring ball. A bunch of catches that, required a lot of skill near the sideline, like doing the dead leg thing, making sure you keep your feet in bounds, concentration to catch the ball. Those are the kinds of details that show, that some young players paying attention, right? So I think they're in really good shape there. They did lose a recruit during January. A kid ended up going to Oregon. So they brought in a replacement named Antoine Roberts, someone who had played at Marshall under the current offensive coordinator, Seth Davies. So that's kind of a security blanket for them, too, having that veteran who knows the system.
The transfer portal's such a big deal. Single biggest get. It doesn't seem like, reading up on this, like there's one guy people really agree on. Rodney Gallagher, people seem to be high on him, although his stats were modest at West Virginia. Maybe that's why he left, though. And then there's a USC transfer at safety everybody's talking about, and Matai Togai. Where's the biggest plus in the transfer portal?
First of all, I think as a group, the defensive backs are the ones to watch here. If you include Tagovailoa, who they actually moved from linebacker to safety, I believe it's 8 defensive backs that were brought in through the portal. So they really, they knew they were losing a lot. They had 4 players out of last year's starting secondary drafted, which is unprecedented for Arizona. And it was a reflection of how good they were as a pass defense last year. I mean, among the best in the nation, literally top 5 in several categories. So position-wise, I mean, that's the area that they tried to replenish the most. But if you're talking about one player who I think from the portal is going to make the biggest impact this year, I would choose tight end Cole Rusk, who played a bunch at Illinois last season. Prior to that, he was at Murray State. Has had some injuries over the years, so he's a 6th-year college football veteran, but just right away stepped in during spring ball and took over the tight end position. Like, clearly the number one guy I don't know how he established such good chemistry with Noah Fafita, since he hadn't really played with him before, but the two seem to have it right off the bat. And maybe that's just because Cole Rusk has been around and just knows how to play football. But that would be my choice if you're looking at one guy out of the portal who I think is going to have the biggest impact this year.
Receiver, I know you're high on Trey Spivey. Fafita calling him a generational talent. And my gosh, we all remember T-Mac McMillan, what he did and what he's doing in the NFL. Now you look at Spivey, 6'4", 213. That's some pretty good size. Obviously reminds us of T-Mac, who was literally a generational talent. Might be to think that anybody could compare to him would be something really special. They lose a couple of receivers, but they also seem like besides Spivey, they got maybe at least two others that showed a little bit. So Fafita should have some targets to throw to. Yeah, I was struck by that comment too, because as you mentioned, Noah Fafita's literal best friend is Tetairoa McMillan, who's, the best receiver in Arizona history and was a top 10 pick and, offensive rookie of the year in the NFL, all that stuff. I'm like, wow, okay. That seems like a generational talent. You're telling me Trey Spivey is potentially on that level. Like, whoa. Your ears perk up when you hear that, but you see it in flashes during practice. Like, he's got everything you want, right? He's got great size, and he's listed at 6'4", 213. He can high point the ball. He's willing to go over the middle. The thing for Trey is that it's just been, working on the details of the position. Wide receiver is a very detailed position. Like, you have to be precise with your routes, with your depths, with your splits, where you line up, how you attack defensive backs. So that's been a learning process for him. He's got the work ethic, the coaches say, to get all that stuff down. And if he does, he could be in for a really big year. They also bring back Giovanni Richardson, who went by Gio last year, had a really good and promising freshman season. He's like a clone of wide receivers coach Bobby Wade. They talk very similarly. And Gio's got a ton of potential as a smooth route runner, tough, kind of a rising player. Doesn't have quite the size that Trey Spivey does, but then again, few do. And then I would say another returning player to keep an eye on that receiving core is Chris Hunter. Kind of an up and down year a little bit last year. Had some issues with drops, but he had a really good offseason. And they say that his performance in practice really reflected that. He might have had some injury issues that he was dealing with a year ago and seemed really fresh and fit during spring ball. So those are the main guys. And they, of course, brought in handful of transfers too, but I would kind of expect those three returnees to be the main trio.
It's tricky in these big leagues where everybody doesn't play everybody. Who do you miss? And so it can kind of skew the stats. Texas Tech obviously had the best defense in the league last year. And then it's BYU, Utah, and Arizona. Those three separated by just 4 points. And Arizona's bringing back 6 of the front 7 are pretty experienced. So are there really high hopes there? Are there any holes in that group, or should that really be the anchor for this team?
Yeah, it kind of feels like it's flipped from last year, right? As mentioned, the secondary was truly outstanding a year ago. They had the big three with Traden Stukes, Dalton Johnson, and Genesis Smith, who were all taken in the first 5 rounds of the draft this past year, and were the main reason that their pass defense was so good. Now you've got some question marks in the secondary, bunch of newcomers coming in. How are they going to fit? How are they going to gel together? Meanwhile, you have Tay Brown and Chase Kennedy. Chase Kennedy, who I'm sure you guys are familiar with from his Utah days, anchoring the linebacking core. They brought in Everett Lusaw and Cooper Blomstrom to kind of be outside backers. They will sometimes go to a 2-4-5 look. They'll play 3-3-5. They'll play 4-2-5. A lot of variety and different looks in that front. You kind of never know where the pressure is coming from, who's going to rush, who's going to drop. Lusaw was something of a pleasant surprise during spring. He had big credentials coming in from Memphis, but seemed to be a better all-around player than even the coaches thought he would be. Brown and Kennedy, I think, are emerging leaders on this team and on this defense. They were much more vocal during spring than I had ever observed before. People might have some questions about defensive line because they didn't really bring in it. They brought in one veteran, and that's a kid, Kevin Moore, from junior college, who did not participate in spring because he still was finishing up classes. So they're relying on returners, number one, and they've got some really good returners. They were fortunate to get Trey Smith back for another year after he got hurt last year. This is another sixth-year guy who should really be the anchor down there. Maze Pesse had a great and pleasantly, surprisingly good freshman year, and looks like a gem that they unearthed on the recruiting trail. So he's heading into his true sophomore season. Leroy Palu was a positive addition out of the junior college ranks last year. He'll be a senior this year. And then they've got some really good-looking freshmen, too. And after Pesse was so successful last year, they're not reluctant to play these guys. So some names to file away to keep in mind: Prince Williams, Kaisi Lafataga, and Keatron Harris is the other one, who all had their moments during spring. They all made mistakes during spring, but as players and coaches said, that's what spring ball is for. That's okay. Go ahead, make your mistakes, learn, figure it out, and you'll be better for it in the long run.
You've been on our show a number of times. You probably don't remember, but I have extensive Arizona roots. Went to high school and NAU and then ASU. Grand Canyon, too. I'll throw that one in there. The only higher institution I did not go was the U of A. But nevertheless, I'm intimately familiar with them. And it's funny that both teams, both high-level teams with the Sun Devils and the Cats, have had good seasons, but trying to follow it up has been the key, and it just hasn't happened that often. They have good seasons, and you can go back, let's see, in 2024 with Fish, they had a good season, and then, it doesn't, or 23, whatever it was, it doesn't work out, and then they stink, and then last year was a nice season for the Cats, so what it'll be, and the Sun Devils have had it's almost paralleled there with the same type of good season and then not being able to follow it up. Now, this year, to what level, I don't know, but I anticipate, if for no other reason that I'm a Fafita believer, he's proven to me that he's very good at the college level. And as I said, if he were a few inches taller, the fact is, if he was a few inches taller, he wouldn't be at Arizona right now. He'd be in the NFL. But I believe in him. So I think they'll have a respectable season, if not a very good season. It sort of follows him somewhere in between decent and really good. Am I accurate?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what everyone is hoping for. To your point, they went 10-3 in 2023 and followed it up with 4-8.
Yeah,
10-4 in 2014, and the next year was 7-6, and had a gazillion injuries. 12-1 in 1998. They were 6-6 the following season. The best they've ever done after one of these kind of breakout years is probably going from 93 to 94. They were 10-2 and then 8-4. I think if they went 8-4 this upcoming regular season, it would be considered somewhat satisfying. Expectations might be even slightly higher. I mean, I saw USA Today came out with a top 138 a few days ago, and they had Arizona 17th in the country. Yeah. So that's kind of that's knocking on the door of the CFP, right?
Yeah.
A lot of things have to go your way. You got to get lucky with injuries. Schedule dictates some of that. They've got a really tough game in week 2 at BYU. Very, test right off the bat to see how good you are. I think the rest of the schedule, honestly, is pretty manageable. I think there's a lot of parity in the Big 12 overall. But I think something in the 8-4 range is probably realistic. And given the history that you cited, that would probably be considered another successful season.
As long as they get a W in that 12th game, too.
Yes, of course. Of course. That shapes the entire perspective of the season. And, fun fact, 100th Territorial Cup this year.
Oh, is it?
So kind of a big deal, this particular Arizona ASU game on Saturday, November 28th.
How big a deal is it to go to West Virginia and play Rich Rod, the former Arizona coach?
Yeah, I think it's a huge deal. This will be the first time that they play West Virginia with Rich Rod as the coach. That will be a huge storyline here in Tucson that week, and will be a huge storyline in Morgantown as well. He was the coach here for 6 years. They did really well for the most part over those 6 seasons. Went to bowl games 5 times. I don't think that's ever happened at any other period in the history of the program. It was not, however, an amicable breakup. There were some things that were happening behind the scenes that led to Rich Rod's dismissal. He's bounced back. Got to give him a lot of credit. Like, he reinvented himself to a degree. He coached at the lower levels, took lesser jobs, worked his way back up into the position that he's in now. I know they've had massive turnover on their roster. So what West Virginia is going to look like this year is something of a mystery. But, yeah, that's going to be a really big deal. I'm sure it'll be emotional to some degree for Rich Rod and his family. Both of his kids work for the program as well. And, they grew up in Tucson, attended Arizona. His kids did. So definitely one of the dates to circle on the calendar when you look at the schedule this year.
Just make sure Brennan keeps his shirt on there in Tucson in the offices, and he'll be fine.
He hasn't gone there yet, but I've seen that in the past, and he's been like more relaxed and comfortable and kind of feeling, like he can be himself, like over the past year compared to the first year. So I wouldn't put anything past him.
There's Michael Leb. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know. News update. This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag Utah Jazz.
Picking second will be the Utah Jazz.
Couldn't be more happy. We think there's a lot of talented guys that can help us for the next 10 years, and we're glad for Jazz Nation that we got it, and now we got to make the right pick.
Utah Jazz move up. Finally, PK. Somebody can say that after a lottery. They are going to draft second unless they make a trade up, down, out, whatever. But they've got an asset. Now, what do they do with it? Lady Luck, good fortune, smiled.
Yeah, it was about time. It was going to happen. To what degree remains to be seen, and 2 is plenty good enough. Because now if you want DeBonsa or whomever, you only have to deal with one team. And you've got enough assets, and you are closer to winning, I believe, than Washington is, so you can offer them assets if you're interested in somebody. The things that I will say, if they want DeBonsa, and I don't know that they do, but if they do, they have an excellent chance to get him. And I believe they feel like they can get him if, and that's a big if, they decide that that's the direction they want to go. But, we've seen it in the past as far as maneuverability. If you like someone really, really close, say, and I don't think I'm just throwing this name out there, but Wilson, then you can trade down.
Yep.
And get your guy, possibly.
And get some more stuff.
Yes. So the options, almost like anything that you can dream of, within reason, of course, that's available to them. And, I was kind of snooping and nosing around a little bit yesterday, and I think that if they want DeBonsa, they can get him. But they may look at, and somebody like a Wilson, they may look at and say, hey, he's really good. Or Darren Peterson, and for that matter, Boozer. I think you have to put all 4 guys in the category. If they believe that they can get somebody and he's really close to the other guy and you can get other stuff, as you say, this is going to be a very interesting 6 weeks or so before the draft, and then find out what they do at that point. But this opportunity there is really sets themselves up to do some really good things, and I'm excited for them. I'm excited for the fans and for all the people who've suffered. And Ryan Smith, that's great, but he's still got $8 billion in the bank, so good for him.
For all the Jazz fans in your neighborhood and the people who come up to you at the gym, the average Jazz fans,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
people who maybe can only afford to go to 2 or 3 games a year, maybe not that.
Right.
Or maybe they do have tickets to the company and they sorted through 20 games. It's intriguing now. I mean, there's probably a few, we'll probably hear from a few this morning on social media, who are like, wow, it's so close to having the number 1 pick, and they could have had DeBonza. It would have been kind of just slam dunk, open and close. There still would have been a chance to trade down or whatever or out. Mm-hmm. I don't think, and maybe I'm up in the night.
What?
It's not what I think, it's what I know. I don't think they would have done that. I think they had the number 1 pick who would have taken DeBonza and gone on with it. But at 2, there's so much drama. Washington, there's already reports coming out of Washington. The Wizards are open to talk and trade. Well, I bet they are. Now, how much do they want to move? You know, what's the price?
Well, I
you
listened
can talk all day long.
Their general manager was on the NBA radio this morning, and I listened to it for 20 minutes.
Yep.
And
so did you get a sense of, I'll move for a king's ransom, or do you get a sense of, hey, we get it. We get a player and a pick. You know, there have been these moves, right? The year Bradley came out. I mean, Utah's kind of been involved in one of them, one from the college. And the year Bradley came out and Weber got traded. And so people were willing to move, you know, from 1 to 3. When D. Will was in the draft, the Jazz moved from 6 to 3. So.
Oh, yeah, DA has already done that with Jason Tatum.
Yep.
So
Tatum's another example.
Yeah, I think that's a more recent one. I think that they're just giddy.
Yeah,
and
that they're in the mix.
Yeah,
instead of parked back at.
But they are starting
6.
interviews tomorrow.
It's go time.
Right, it is, and so get as much information as you can. But they're open.
Yep.
I think these teams, including the Jazz, are open. This is not one, but obviously it's the next best thing. And given the fact that they have so many options available, it is plenty good enough. They're gonna get an excellent player.
Yeah. If they don't make any moves, they just sit at number 2 and they take whoever's on the board. You know, they'll miss out on one guy, obviously, probably DeBonza, but whatever. They'll have a chance to get a really good player.
But I think that if they really want DeBonza, they can get. And if DeBonza really wants to be here, they can finagle it. This is it won't. The formula is easy. The particulars of that formula,
the price might be
is where
huge. Right.
You have to get involved.
Yep.
But Washington needs more help than the Jazz do.
Yeah.
So give them 1 pick removed and all this other stuff that the Jazz may shower upon them. Basically, take everybody except the 2 forwards and the 2 guards. That's and I would be even open to Keontae George.
But those not would be Ace Bailey.
I don't see it.
Yeah.
I think the 4 guys, and then we can give you picks, we can give you players, we can give you first-round picks, and you're only moving down 1.
Yeah, you're still
not 3 or 4.
You're still getting a really good player.
Yeah, who's gonna? And if DeBonza really doesn't want to be there and really wants to be here, that can aid the case. So the DeBonza thing is very, very much in play.
So weird that a year ago, Ace Bailey, according to his agent, really wanted to go to the Wizards, and he ended up here. Now a year later, what if DeBonza doesn't want to go to the Wizards and could end up here? It's the Wizards again. Very little interaction with them, but guess what? Second year in a row. Mm-hmm. Potential link. Player not wanting to be one place, wanting to be somewhere else.
Right.
All right, well, we'll have more on this coming up. You've been reacting all over social media. We'll get to that. Lots of options for trades. We'll get to all of that on the way. The other stuff that came out of this draft lottery, PK, how about the Pacers having a terrible year? Drop to 5. Give the pick to the Clippers. Oof.
It sucks for them.
Yeah.
But I don't give a crap.
And the Jazz win the coin flip with the Kings, because if they don't, the 5th team ends up drafting 7th. Yikes. Mm-hmm. All right, DJ and PK.
Hashtag NBA.
See it. They said, people asked, he caught him with the elbow. So obviously when you have a high elbow and you catch somebody, I by no means thought it was intentional. Tough break. So that's all my take on it right now. But in general, I do think it's getting to a point that if the people that are in charge of controlling the game and protecting the physicality of the game don't do that, then at some point he's going to have to protect himself. We've been asking him to do that now for a while.
Victor Wembanyama ejected for an elbow to the side of Naz Reid's head. He picks up a flagrant 2 foul. He's kicked out. He only plays 12 minutes, scores 4 points. And without him, the Spurs lose. Minnesota wins 114-109. That series tied at 2 games apiece. When he's bad or he doesn't play, Minnesota has prevailed. He's had 2 good games. The Spurs won those 2. It's pretty clear-cut what's going on through 4 games in this series.
Well, if the rules require him to be suspended, he needs to be suspended. I mean, the people in Phoenix are still furious about what happened years ago with Steve Nash.
Yep.
Those are the rules, and that's Mitch Johnson, I believe. That's the coach of the Spurs. He can protect himself all he wants, but you can't throw an elbow above the neck.
Cannot. No choice for the rest.
Given the fact that he's a half a foot taller than everybody.
Where do you think that's going to land, right? Yeah.
So if he wants to protect himself, fine. He just needs to be smarter. He can't throw an elbow without knowing exactly where it's going. Put it in the chest of the man.
Yep.
And then you're fine. And you're much taller than everybody else, so you've got to be smart about it. I don't have any problem with what Johnson said, except it was intentional. And he's much taller, so his elbows are going to be higher. They led the Spurs and Wembanyama individually, and he clearly didn't know the rule, because I thought of you with that skill with the lip reading that you have. Remember he told us he had that skill, Yuck? I mean, and obviously...
Who could forget?
Tirico must have it, too.
He does.
Because you could say, well, what does that mean? I'm ejected. I mean,
yep.
I couldn't read it. It was impossible for me.
That was pretty clear-cut. I think you could.
No, because I didn't know, was he speaking French?
He was not speaking French.
But that's the point. I didn't know.
I think you could.
I don't have that skill. The departed Vin Scully and Mike Tirico have that skill.
I learned it from Vin, by the way. Watching Dodger games. He taught me
and
taught me
so
through the TV and the radio.
It's clear he didn't know what the rule was. And fine, protect yourself all you want, but don't throw an elbow that's going to hit somebody above the neck, because they're very conscious of that. And anybody who does it, no matter what your complaint is, you're going to be ejected.
It had to be. There was no choice. There couldn't be star treatment for that.
And if there's a suspension that requires it, then they need to suspend them, because they cost the Suns a title, and the people down there are furious about it. And they want to see the rules need to be applied equally. Injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere.
There it is. So what happened to the Sixers? They looked so good beating Boston in 7, and then they can't even compete with the Knicks. Beaten in 4 games, beaten by 30 points at home to complete the sweep. The Knicks got those little rivalries going. Well, probably not little rivalries, just little from here. When you're in the middle of them, it's probably a pretty heated rivalry with Philly and Boston. And now they can look at Philly like, ha, we swept you. And look at Boston. Like, you couldn't beat those guys. Knicks are on to the conference final, waiting for the Detroit-Cleveland winner. That series is 2-1 Detroit with Game 4 tonight.
Yeah.
Impressed with the Knicks or just Philly's a mess?
I mean, that's Philadelphia's problem. That has nothing to do with the Knicks. Take advantage of a lousy team or a team not good enough to beat you and move on to the conference final and see where you go from there.
Thunder can move on to the conference final. They're 7-0 in the playoffs. They're going for another sweep. They got the Lakers at home, in L.A. tonight. 8:30 after the Pistons and Cavs at 6.
Well, I would think they would win that, and then LeBron will turn the attention to himself. Am I coming back or not?
Sit and wait like he's Aaron Rodgers. Take his time.
And plus, he's a free agent, so, I mean, now he can move if he wants to. And we can finally... It's going to be impressive. The front line, this may be the best front line in history with Jaren Jackson, Lowry Markkanen, A.J. DeBonsa, and LeBron James. If Dwayne Wade gets his way.
NBC tonight for the Pistons and Cavs. Prime video for the Thunder and the Lakers. And Steve Kerr, 2-year contract extension to stay with the Warriors. I did not expect that. It did seem it was getting more likely the last few weeks. He seemed to open the door, but coaching to the end of a deal. New deal makes him the highest paid coach in the NBA.
Well, I just hope that he doesn't end up like Rudy Tomjanovich in Houston.
How's that?
Well, that's the, you can explain it, Yuck. It is the Draymond Green shot at Charles Barkley.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, I don't want to be like you and okay, got it. Okay.
And then he had to apologize because it was stupid.
Yeah. I got to average a double-double while he was in Houston.
Yeah, I know. Like Charles Barkley in Houston was dog meat.
Yeah, he was actually pretty good.
If Kerr wants to keep coaching, man. I mean, Jerry Sloan did it. He withstood a couple of situations.
Yeah.
And so if he wants, I don't think that the Warriors are going to be a big contender next year unless they make a massive amount of moves. And this is the star player. He has to play it out. and then you rebuild after that. And we've seen this a million times. But maybe Kerr wants to keep going beyond that. Good for him. Whatever he wants to do it.
DJ and PK.
#NFL.
Denver Broncos coach Sean Payton said that Bo Nix remains on track to participate in the minicamp on a limited basis next month, expected to be full speed by the time training camp starts in July. I think would you have Denver as the favorite out of the AFC to go to the Super Bowl or alongside some other teams? They got to be up there.
Well, I mean, it's the same to the three teams.
Denver, New England.
No, I mean in the division.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then watch out for Fernando Mania Part 2. And Vegas, man, I'm giving you a tag that you can use.
Oh, yeah.
Vegas is like 95% LA.
Huge LA influence. Yeah. So many Laker fans there.
And so they're going to have...
As they're about to find out when they get an NBA team.
Fernando Mania with the Dodgers. Now this is Fernando Mania Part 2. And you can even put it in Spanish.
Yeah, once the Athletics get there, they're going to... If they don't already know it, it'll be the roar when the Dodgers play there, when the Lakers play there. It'll be
that's
impressive.
Everywhere in the West.
Yeah.
I mean, Phoenix is
at
least half Dodger fans. But yeah, Fernando Mania. I'm giving you free advertising, Vegas.
There's a marketing plan. Run with it.
And you told me years ago Vegas was in St. George.
I did?
Yeah.
I don't remember this.
Did you remember? Yeah, I remember when he said Vegas is in St. George.
I'm not saying I didn't. I just don't remember.
I do remember that, yeah.
And then I said, well, I guarantee if the Raiders are in St. George, they're in Beaver.
Oh, I do remember that. My bad. I do remember that. There are Vegas fans in St. George, though.
Obviously, it makes sense.
Yeah.
They're basically a suburb.
Potential sale for the Seahawks by the estate of Paul Allen, not getting the interest. What? The NFL can't just print money? Yeah, it might only go for $9 billion, not the $10 billion the Broncos sold for. Hard times in the NFL.
How fast can we get a stadium?
Yeah, right. DJ and PK.
#Major League Baseball.
The 2-2 delivery. Suzuki strikes out swinging. And there it is, number 1900 for Jacob deGrom. He is the second fastest ever to get to 1900 in terms of games pitched behind Randy Johnson and in terms of innings pitched behind Chris Sale.
Machado, first pitch swinging, Manny in the air to center field. Scott is backing up, gives way to Walker, who's got the great arm. He makes the catch. Laureano's tagging. Here's the throw to the plate, not in time. The Padres have come back. They walk it off on Mother's Day and beat the Cardinals 3-2.
Opening pitch to Terang. Fly ball center field. It's hit well. Grisham back. It is gone! Another Mother's Day miracle for the Brewers.
Brewers complete a 3-game sweep of the Yankees for the first time since 1989. The walk-off homer, they win 4-3. Big series in the National League. The Atlanta Braves, best record in baseball, take 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers with a 7-2 win yesterday. Braves off today. Now they got a 3-game series with the Cubs, who have the second best record. Ready for some more? I think that game tomorrow's on TBS too. So if you're into your childhood memories and the Superstation and the Braves and the Cubs, it'll all come together with 2 good teams.
I got the baseball package.
Yeah, I know. It's a different era.
Got it for free, too.
Tampa Bay Rays won their 14th game in the last 16. They're 14-2 as they move past the Yankees into the top spot in the AL East. They beat Boston 4-1. Cubs lost. I mean, they're still 20-5 in the last 25 games, but they lost. Rangers ace Jacob deGrom becomes the second fastest pitcher to 1,900 career strikeouts. They don't do that by age. They do that by games pitched. He's had a bunch
37
of
years old.
I know. The second fast. When I saw that, I'm like, is he in his early 30s? He's got to be in his early 30s, but I don't even think he's in his early 30s. I looked it up because I was stunned by the second fastest. So they went guy games pitched, so they don't count all the time.
Because he's been hurt a lot. And
yeah,
also,
a lot.
Strikeouts don't matter as much as they used to. It used to be embarrassing to strike out.
Nobody cares now. Hey, swing the fences, try to hit that two-strike homer.
He listed, now Randy Johnson's an all-time guy who's going to be an all-time guy if he pitched in 1900 or 2000 or 3000.
Yeah, but let's talk 3,000, 3,500, or 4,000 strikeouts, not 1,900.
But second fastest and Chris Sale, who happens to pitch in today's game, these guys should be racking up the strikeouts.
Yeah, they don't throw enough innings, and then they get hurt, and they miss the season.
Well, he does. Yeah. He's been hurt more often than not, but he's very good when he's healthy, that's for sure.
Bees had their series finale in OKC canceled due to weather conditions. They're coming home for 2 weeks. They got El Paso coming in next week. They did get to see Mookie Betts for a couple games. He's headed back to the majors now. He played a couple games. He's ready to go. I think he's 2 for 5 with a walk. He'll be back with the Dodgers for this upcoming week. DJ and PK.
Hashtag RSL.
Real Salt Lake loses in Dallas 3-1. Diego Luna scored the only goal. It came late. A bad opening first half. I would say the worst first half of the year. And they pay for it and they lose. And Dallas ties them in the standings. They come home. They've got a game midweek with Houston, and Colorado's coming in on the weekend. So 2 home games in quick succession here. Got to bounce back from that opening 45. Not good, not even a little bit.
Rats.
Utah Royals scoreless game at Bay FC. They extend their unbeaten streak to 7 matches overall. They're sitting 4th place in the NWSL after this long unbeaten streak. DJ and PK.
Hashtag golf.
Christopher Rayden, I did not watch on Mother's Day, I have to admit. I don't even know who he is. Have you heard of him, PK? You follow golf more than I do. Christopher Rayton?
I have.
Right on?
Yeah. I know. I think you had it right the first time.
First PGA Tour title. He wins the Truist. Beats out Ricky Fowler. 2 strokes under. Or 2 strokes in front of those guys at 15 under. 2-shot win. Tony Finau tied for 31 at 3 under. And now, where do we turn our attention, PK? Bum, bum, bum.
PGA?
The PGA Championship this week.
Yeah. Brandt Snedeker won his first title. He was on the other one.
Yeah, Myrtle Beach had a tour also. They had split events. First time he's won on tour since 2018.
I've played golf in Myrtle Beach. And one time in the parking area of the JW in Vegas, Brandt Snedeker was right behind me.
All right. Nice.
They park your car. We'd always go down for the Jimmy Buffett would do a thing in MGM in the fall, and it always coincided with the PGA tournament.
The PGA stop in Las Vegas?
Yeah, and we'd stay at that hotel, the JW, out there at Poinsett, and the PGA players would be on the floor, and so Snedeker was right behind me, and then we go in the line to check in together, chatted him up a little bit. I'm sure it was a highlight of his life. And that's the place where I worked out like 7:30 in the morning on the Saturday with Vijay Singh.
Oh, and with his
just the 2 of us.
His trainer
with his trainer, and his trainer would look.
His trainer / bodyguard.
Oh yeah, man. If I even looked, and it was just the 2 of us, the 3 of us.
I know, but a hotel gym.
If I looked in his way, that guy just gave me the nastiest glare.
If you go to a hotel gym, you might have to interact with the public. Deal with it. Good grief. Come on, man. He's just so arrogant. Golly.
But he let it be known without speaking, you do not get within 10 feet of us.
That's one of the many examples of retreat to the castle, pull up the drawbridge. I'm not dealing with you, the little people. And it is just rampant all across sports.
He wouldn't even let me say hello to him.
No.
So I didn't.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag NHL.
Put that one off the mark. On foot, they score! The puck bounced through off the carom, and Kirby Dach able to pick it free in front to put it home. And his pass off the mark for Gauthier, but he follows it up, walks right in, and scores! Alex Killorn, 3-2 Ducks.
So the Ducks win 4-3. They beat Vegas. That series is tied 2-2. Montreal's up 2-1 on Buffalo after rolling 6-2. And tonight we got a game for Colorado at Minnesota. Colorado, the Avs are up 2-1. Can Minnesota tie the series up? Or is Colorado going to take that big 3-1 lead? That game's on ESPN. And The winner of that Colorado-Minnesota series figures to be a heavy favorite over Anaheim or Vegas, so they're not really playing for a Stanley Cup final, but they might be. Pretty clearly they might be. All right, DJ and PK, Steve Cleveland coming up at 8 o'clock. Kevin Reynolds, Jazz beat writer for the Salt Lake Tribune. At 9 o'clock, we'll talk to Steve and Kevin about the big story of the day. The Jazz have the second pick. Are they drafting second? Are they going to use it, leverage something different, and might that something different beat A.J. DeBonsa? Your reaction coming up. Tons of reaction on Facebook. Lots of options out there for Austin Ainge and the Jazz. We'll get to them next. Stay with us.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeCoe.
Bill Armstrong, general manager of the Utah Mammoth. I got to imagine it's really tough when you go, and then all of a sudden you just hit the brick wall and it just stops. How hard is that to wrap your brain around?
Well, I'm just getting out of bed from depression. Yeah, it's been hard to turn on the TV, and the only thing that's on there is hockey. It's definitely a punch in the face. It's a hard pill to swallow when you get knocked out. There's definitely a lot of motion inside you, and there's a lot of kind of evaluating going on and figuring out, hey, what was the turning moment in the series, and could we have done anything better? And you got to go through meeting with the players and, getting them on their way. And there's still a lot going on, but we do miss playing, Hopefully this time next year, we're going to be right in that fight.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The KSL Sports Zone and Beehive Meals are honoring people that impact youth sports in our communities. Nominate the youth sports volunteer for the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week at KSLSports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to Jake and Ben for the winner. It's the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week. Got a poll question up. The Jazz have the number 2 pick in next month's draft. Do you think they should trade up the number 1, stay at 2, trade down, trade for a veteran? We don't think they'll do that, do we? I mean, they could. I don't see that.
Well, I think that could come down the line. I don't think it'll be connected to this.
About 100 votes up, and right now, stay at number 2, 60% of the vote. People don't want to give stuff up. They're going to get a good player. No reason to overpay for somebody else.
I don't have any problem giving stuff up. If you want somebody in particular.
Because you think they're that much better than everybody else?
Go
get that somebody.
Yeah. So it's up to you. You hold the cards. You can give Washington what Washington is looking for, to only move down 1 spot.
Well, Washington's going to ask for Ace Bailey. How long do you have to wait before they stop doing that?
Yeah, but you just said that's not going to happen.
Right.
And then...
Who do you like?
If you want DeBonsa...
Who else do you like?
If you want DeBonsa, then DeBonsa's people, if he wants here... then they just say, hey, this is where we want to go. Make a deal with these guys. It's simple. It's not, the formula is simple. The particulars of the formula can be complicated.
The negotiating will get complicated because everybody will be trying to get a better deal.
But see, Washington may not be as sold on DeBonsa as you are.
Yes, but in this game of poker, they're not going to let on to that. There is a chance, I totally agree with you on this. There is a chance, I don't think it's a very big one, but there is a chance that you could just sit there and do nothing, never make a deal. They could take Peterson and you could get DeBonsa but do nothing. That could happen. I don't think it's likely, but it could happen.
Washington needs to play poker, but it doesn't need to play its hand to the point where it hurts itself. You then play your hand, and then you have some leverage too, but you're getting a player who very well could be better. This is not a slam dunk here. This is not Wembanyama. This is not LeBron, where, we know these are the guys who are going to go number 1, no matter who gets the pick. The player is number 1 for sure. I don't think you can say, and I love DeBonsa as much as the next guy, that you can say he is an absolute, without question, the best player. I mean, you look at what Anthony Edwards did in the fourth quarter last night. Shot making. Kevin Young talking about the holy grail is shooting. Shot making is a premium, probably the most important skill in the game. All right, and they could decide Darren Peterson is the best shooter here, so we need to get him. Plus, he has explosive athletic ability. Anthony Edwards put on a show against the Spurs in the fourth quarter, and I know Big Vic wasn't there, but Big Vic wouldn't have been guarding that three-pointer in front of the Spurs bench anyway. So you need players who can put the ball in the basket in a variety of ways and are great shooters. If you have that, that's like taking a kid who has, in football, who has the ultimate motor and is so skilled, but also a high achiever. You're getting the best of the best in that sport. We've seen plenty of guys who are overachievers, and Bronco used to talk about them. He liked the overachieving walk-on. Okay, I like the overachieving five-star guy. Because then you got both.
What do you want? You want Urlacher or Lawrence Taylor?
Whoever it might be.
Whatever Hall of Famer.
You want the five-star overachiever, right? That's the best of both.
The best of the best.
And
that's why elite pass rushers in the NFL make the money they do.
And Darren Peterson at the pro level, he might be that. You know, I wasn't here Friday. I had to take off because I was having some cramping because I had just taken too much creatine. And
I see what you did there. That's very good,
right. So I was unable. I had to be off my feet, and that's what he's saying is the reason why he was off his feet.
Now, if that is the legit explanation and not an excuse, then somebody on Kansas's medical human performance, whatever they call those people, they botched it big time.
Yeah, but I don't know that they're even involved because these people come in and they're not assimilating. Their people are
doing
guiding
their own
them.
thing.
Yeah,
doing their own thing off to the side.
Yeah.
If that's the answer, if that's really what happened, that can be fixed, and then you could be off and running.
Well, now you've got a full month to evaluate. Yep. And you've got more than that, but you got to guess if you want to deal with the Jazz. And the bottom line, I really believe if they want DeBonsa, they can get him. And Washington can play its hand, but you don't want to overplay it because you take advantage of it. Get some stuff, get the number 2 pick. That could be just as fine, if not better. Well, time will tell on that. We don't really know for sure. So the Jazz are in just as good a spot, I believe, as because the stuff that they give up, they're not going to really want anyway. And a guy, Flipper, Collier, Cody Williams, who do you want? We're just not going to give you these 4. That's it.
If they gave them, it would get a lot more complex if Washington were demanding Jackson or Markkanen, because now you're going to have to take a lot of salary back, and now how long are those people signed for?
But they're not. They've got big money in Trae Young and Anthony Davis.
Yeah. That's probably who you'd end up having to take back. It'd be hard to build something else. Maybe you could. Get Locke on. He's way more into that.
Well, yeah, but I listened to him yesterday. He was going crazy. I tuned into his thing, and not live, but I listened to it. And he's giddy, as he should be. I mean, he's in the organization, a paid employee. He should be really excited. He wants them. Obviously,
he's got to call all the games. He might as well have good games and wins to call.
Of course, we understand his level of excitement. He's a fan too. So with that in mind, you're in a great spot. I think you've never been in this good a spot going into the draft in franchise history.
Yeah, I'd like to argue that, but yeah, they've never had the 1. Now they got the 2. It was pretty exciting with the 3 and D. Will, but this is more.
It's way more.
Yeah.
Because you have way more options to do whatever it is you want to do.
So many options.
Yeah.
And what if they do decide, like, Caleb is the next big thing? Go the other way.
Take him.
Go the other way. Washington is just going to ransom that number 1 pick. We're not doing that. AJ will still love it here when he's a free agent. We'll talk to him then. But meanwhile, if they saw something in Caleb and thought he was the guy and decided to trade down for him, okay. And what else can you get?
Well, I see a lot in him. Has the potential to be a multiple-year All-Star for several years. And if he gets established a little bit, I mean, he's just a kid. All these guys are kids. They're 1 year removed from high school. So you have to remember that. But the one who comes in here, it's a great opportunity for him because he didn't have to have the pressure of you must perform to the level of Big Vic and Cooper Flagg and blah, blah, blah. And neither of those guys who are studs have made the playoff in their first year. And this guy, whoever it might be, is I anticipate making the playoff. There will be an 83rd game, even if it's just a play-in. To me, that's still the playoff. If you're playing an 83rd game, that means you're in some type of postseason. And so he'll have that. It'll be an ideal situation to be able to learn a little bit as you go, rather than, okay, you're our franchise, you're our cornerstone immediately. No, you're not. You will expect it to be a big-time player, but you can pace it a little bit. I mean, we're not 2, 3, 4 years, but you could pace it to a degree. So it's a great opportunity. There's no way they come out of this losing. And then, you have to look at it. What do you want? If you don't get it right, then you want an Olajuwon Jordan, I didn't get it right. Yeah.
Houston didn't get it right, but they got 2 titles.
Right.
And who wouldn't take the number 1 pick and get 2 titles? Because so many of the number 1 picks don't get any titles.
Right. And he's your best player.
Although you could have had the GOAT.
Right. So they didn't get it right, technically right, but they got it good enough. You got a Hall of Fame dude at the time was arguably the best player in the game. And he did win 2 titles when Jordan was away.
Yep.
So you had a lot of good times for there.
Yeah. No, he was awesome. He didn't have the Scottie Pippen. He didn't have the Magic Kareem combo or the Celtic front line or any of the other. MJ, Scottie Pippen,
I don't
Batman,
even think
and Robin.
He had the Stockton Malone.
No, he had 4 nice players. They were nice. They're nice players.
Well, he made them nice.
He did. They'd have been scrapping for 50 wins in a playoff and win a playoff series without him.
So
they carried him to 2 titles. They did get Drexler at the end for the second one, but nonetheless, he was the man.
Get somebody like him, and we will have to wait till, at probably 2032 before we can make these assessments. Oh, you got it right. You got the very best player, or you should have.
Right. Because these guys are going to have to get to year 5, 6, 7, 8 to see.
I mean, I will never know. Odds are I'll be dead.
Dead.
Yeah. So
PK, warm food.
But,
okay, fine.
You can let me know. Come to my grave and tell me.
Okay.
And I'm going to put it on my tombstone. It's going to be, did they get it right? That's going to be a question mark on my tombstone.
You have so many things on your tombstone. The fine print's going to be really hard. Or you need a massive tombstone. Go up into the Cottonwood Canyons, just get a truck, the extra wide load flags.
See, I'll get the last
with
laugh.
Flashing lights in front of it.
You'll have the big TV. I'll have the massive headstone.
Oh, you have the big TV now.
Oh, he's going to need the epitaph of all epitaphs.
Yeah. It'll be a wraparound.
The mother of all epitaphs.
He's going to have like one of those big, like.
See, most of them are like they're flat faced. No, I'm going to have a spear.
Yeah, don't you call it like an
headstone.
obelisk? Because it's got all the writing on it.
The sphere. Yeah. People say the sphere, and everybody will think Vegas. Will be like, no, we're going to put flowers at PK's grave.
Yeah, my headstone.
We're going to the sphere.
It'll be a spear, like, and it'll rotate.
I'm not seeing a concert.
And you can put advertising on it. See,
in big bold-faced type font, irregardless.
I'll be making the company money even when I'm dead.
That should be like a weather vane. The irregardless should be spinning in the wind.
And right, irregardless of what the Jazz do, they have an option to get a great player.
More than 100 comments on this. It's such a big story. And what you just said and this comment, wrong. It's not just a great player, the chance to get a great player. We'll get to that in a second. There's going to be something else the Jazz has their eye on. We'll get to that next. All right, DJ and PK, it is PGA Championship week. Yak, you want to give stuff away?
Absolutely. Let's go.
Caller 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE. Will be assigned a golfer in the PGA Championship next week. We're assigning the top 25 players in the world, and then one listener will get the field, everybody else in the tournament. The winner will receive a Copper Rock logo golf bag and a $100 gas gift card. It's brought to you by Copper Rock, where the pros play. Caller 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. DJ and PK. DJ and PK, brought to you in part by Beehive Meals. And May 14th, Beehive Meals opens their new production facility in Ogden. Tune in as Scotty G and the coach go live, bringing you all the action, everything going on May 14th as Beehive Meals opens a new production facility in Ogden. DJ and PK, question of the morning. How about the Jazz picking a number 2? Andrew says this, and the skin starts to crawl. The Jazz are already stacked with forwards and centers. If they're smart, they wouldn't take AJ or Boozer. Darren Peterson makes the most sense for the needs of the team. I don't care about the needs of the team. We're talking about older guys, relatively speaking, with Markkanen and Jackson. It is very rare to get this spot, and to not only be in this spot, to be in the spot when there's this much talent, I'm not interested in trading Ace Bailey either. Ace and whoever they get here, they need to be the building blocks for what's going to happen, as you point out, 6, 8, 10 years down the line when you got a weather vane over that massive marble. What was it? Obelisk, you said? What was that big fancy word you used, Jacques?
An obelisk.
Obelisk, yes. Yeah. So this is a pick for 5, 10 years down the lead. Markkanen will be retired back in Finland, and this person should still be winning in the playoffs. I think this is a huge opportunity. You can't go for the need of this team. You're getting a foundation piece for a decade who ought to go with the last guy who needs to develop into a foundation piece for a decade. And year one, I was impressed. So far, so good. Obviously, there's a long way to go for Ace, but so far, so good. And these two, this is what Jazz fans should be paying to see these two guys for a long time to come. Jackson and Markkanen, everybody hopes they win with these guys in the short run. You know, as you talked about, the Fab Four that you do not want to give up to the Wizards in a trade. You've got other assets you can give the Wizards in a trade if they decide to make one. But these two need to stand and then build around them going forward and have this 7, 10, 12-year, 15-year, whatever it turns out to be.
Unless Peterson is your guy.
Oh, see, that's the thing. If he makes the most sense, period, then I'm on board. That's, this is Austin wanted this job, and they're paying him a lot of money, and he's got to make big calls.
I know where he lives.
Nice. And if his call is Peterson's the guy, it really is the creatine thing. That got sideways. There was some bad advice.
That's why I wasn't here Friday.
To straighten this out?
I cramped up.
Oh, okay. And if he decides Peterson's going to be the guy, and if he is putting the biscuit in the basket for 15 years and hitting big shots at the end of playoff games, and he's the guy, then he's the guy. Cool.
Right.
I roll with that.
Right. If that's what they decide.
If that's what they decide, right. But not for the needs of the team. Because for the needs of the team, this pick, if you're drafting 23rd, maybe, I'm not even sure it's a good idea then, but maybe. But when you got a number 2 pick in this draft, cornerstone.
Bill Armstrong said this last year. He was asked this very question.
Yes.
You always draft best player available.
And
if I need to make a trade, and I'm quoting Bill Armstrong literally.
Yep.
If I need to make a trade or we need to make a trade, we will.
Yep.
And
totally buy that.
So, absolutely.
Yeah. If for people who are worried, well, they got a couple of good forwards. Why would they draft a forward? Well, because these forwards are in their late 20s.
Yeah, but if this player is a potential superstar caliber, you take that player. You don't worry about that.
Exactly.
That'll work itself out one way or the other.
Yep.
There's no question about it. So Bill Armstrong said that. I know he said that last summer. Because I remember hearing it. I wanted to hug him. And that was that's what you need to do. When I was in Arizona, I think the Suns did that years ago. They had who'd they have? No, it was Cleveland. Cleveland had Mark Price, and they drafted Kevin Johnson. Right?
Why would you do that? Because he could be really good.
And so then they took Kevin Johnson and traded him for Larry Nance. And Larry Nance went to Cleveland and was a really good player. If Larry Nance played on the Lakers in Showtime,
oh, he'd have been awesome. He'd have been awesome.
They wouldn't have a statue. They'd have a statue for him.
Yes.
And the second or first glamorous franchise in the league. So you draft best player, and then you go from there. And the Angels know that, man. They will do that. That won't be an issue.
Well, there were a lot of examples of this when we were just getting started in the media, and I think the lesson was pretty well learned across the league. People don't really make the draft for needs mistake. I mean, you want to go back to the 70s and 80s, it happened, but there were a few examples, and people got over that. I don't think that happens much anymore.
Well, that was I can remember seeing a documentary on Jordan, and Bob Knight. Portland said we need a center, and he said, "Well, play Jordan at center." I mean, he said that it was retrospective, but he said it at the time.
Well, he coached Jordan on the Olympic team.
Yeah, right.
And he saw Jordan's
and that was
greatness.
the exact time.
Right.
And so he said that. So they won't make that mistake at all. I don't know that they'll get the very best player. That remains to be seen. Or maybe there isn't a very best player. Maybe they're all within the realm of equally as good. And so you can't go wrong. That's probably the best case scenario. I mean, I don't wish, no point in wishing evil upon the Washington Wizards. Who cares about them? No. So let them take whoever they take, and you take whoever you take, and then both of your guys are stars. That would be ideal. The thing is, you get a star, and everybody else around you, I don't care who Washington gets. I don't care who's. I don't even know who's below them without looking it up.
The Bulls are 4,
and fine, let them do whatever
Memphis,
they do.
Didn't Memphis get 3?
Okay, yeah, and great, let them get a nice player. And,
well, I'm a little more intrigued.
You get your player. That's the most important thing.
I'm a little more intrigued by Memphis just because these guys could end up running each other in the playoffs. Whereas the Bulls and Wizards are over in the East. Doesn't seem like they'll be in our face in the same way.
Sure, but that's down the line.
Yep.
Get your guy and bring him in here and go from there and have him be in a situation where he can develop at his pace. But it has to be developed. I don't want to see the guy down in the G League. I want him with the big club the whole time. I want him getting time and go from there. And they're gonna get a stud. That I'm very confident of that. They will get a big-time player. And I would not be shocked if A.J. DeBonce is in a Jazz uniform. I think the pathway is there.
It's
I can
clear
see it.
Yeah, it's clear what would have to be done. The exact price has to be negotiated. But Washington can move from 1 to 2. If the Jazz had ended up with a 5th or 6th pick in the draft,
more complicated.
We wouldn't have the same level of confidence.
This is an easy transition.
Yeah,
that they can get that. And if I'm a Jazz fan today, and an extent I am, I'm not the hardcore for life and all that stuff, but I want to see Austin have success, and he's going to have it. He's going to draft a good player. Now he's going to be involved with his father, and Ryan Smith has already spoken about this publicly. We play it. He was on the next show. I have Scotty and a coach, and he said if people feel strong about it, then I'm going to sign off on it, and I believe that's accurate. And I believe the 3 are the Ainges and Jay-Z, and if those 3 think this is where we need to go, he's going to say, absolutely, let's go, and away they go. These are exciting times now for Jazz fans, and as Locke said yesterday in his own high-pitched, exciting voice when he gets going, that October can't get here soon enough. Now, I'm not going to wish away my summer, but I get his point when it comes to Jazz basketball that October will be exciting, and June will be exciting, and next month will be super exciting. And they're going to work on it this morning, and they're talking or exchanging communications with Austin Ainge. That's exactly what's happening. They are just all over it right when they wake up. This is going to consume them for the next 6 weeks.
DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Steve Cleveland coming up next. Kevin Reynolds, Jazz beat writer for the Salt Lake Tribune at 9 o'clock right here on the Zone. DJ PK and Steve Cleveland joins us once again. Steve, good morning.
Good morning, fellas.
And it is a good morning for Jazz fans. A number 2 pick. Can you believe it? They finally moved up.
Yes, that is exciting, and I think everybody in Utah is probably pretty happy about that. So hopefully that turns into being something that can be pretty special. So I'm not sure we're going to talk a little bit more about the draft.
You have to get this right from the Jazz perspective. Austin Ainge is in charge. You know him well. You recruited him. He's got to get it right. And I think that, as I relate it to your situation, when you came into Provo, there were certain guys you had to get, right? You had to get McKelly Wesley. You had to get Mark Bigelow. You had to get Lee Camard. And you did get those guys, right? And they were foundation pieces to building a program and getting it back to where you wanted and everybody wanted it to be. When it's something that you have to get it right and you're trying to analyze and get all the information with people that you need to talk to and all that, how do you go about that from like Austin Ainge's perspective to make sure that they get the very best player that they can get into this town and be a part of this franchise going forward?
Well, you said it. I think first and foremost, just getting that pick is huge. and now taking your time, not being in a hurry. And I don't know exactly how this is going to play out in my mind. I mean, obviously, we're going to get a really good player here, but are there going to be trades involved? Are there going to be what are the circumstances that we're looking at here going forward? But you do have to get it right. And Austin has been prepared for this for a long time. I mean, 20-plus years in Boston, and here he is now with the Jazz. And obviously, Danny's been involved with this for a long time. So I have a great deal of confidence. These are guys that have been doing this for a long time, and I'm quite confident that this will be a real positive step forward. And we've got great people making those decisions.
I heard this story about Steve Fisher once, that he was a San Diego State and Michigan, basketball coach. He was this great guy, and he knew the name of everybody who worked in the front office of whatever school, whatever receptionist, secretary, whoever was right there. He knew them all by name. He's such a good guy. And I thought, well, yeah, he's pumping them all for information on kids. And I wonder if you could explain to us, maybe he is a great guy, but he was still pumping them for information on kids. And I wonder if you could explain to us, when you're doing background on a player, to find out who they are as a person. And if the Jazz are drafting somebody for the next 7, 10, 12 years, that's going to be really important. How many people do you talk to? Where do you go? Where over time, where did you find great information in unusual places talking to people? Because obviously the Jazz have to do a deep dive on several guys now.
That's true. I think in my experiences in recruiting, and whether it's the NBA or college basketball, I think the way I approached it first and foremost was getting into the home of a player or a recruit, and getting to know the parents, getting to know the coaches, the high school coaches, the junior college coaches, whoever it might be involved. But I think for me, it was making sure that they felt comfortable with me and I felt comfortable with them. And I think that when I look at college, the college players that we were recruiting, we did get into the home. We did go and meet with the high school coach, the junior college coach. We took the time to kind of become part of their family. And I think having a family-oriented approach to this is where we found our success. Because you have the statistics, how they've played and how they've performed, but long-term success in recruiting, whether it's in college or the NBA, really comes down to family. It comes down to people that you trust and that they trust you and you trust them. And then the one thing that we do have here with Austin and Danny in the past, that we have a relationship here with this state. And it's so important that people understand and players understand the importance of family, the importance of having I guess the best word is just a trust. And when I was recruiting and I went into homes, I wanted them to trust me. I wanted them to know that we're going to do what's best for the young man in our program, but we're going to do what's best for him going forward. And when you have that trust and you have that family atmosphere, you are more confident. You're more confident. And I think when I went into homes and I talked to players and I talked to their parents and I talked to their coaches and had that relationship, I felt more confident in hopefully getting that individual to be a part of our program, but also to know that this is more than just basketball. This is about really having relationships. And everything that I did and have done in life, not just in coaching, but in life, that the successes that we have found, and I'm sure this is true for you guys, when you've been successful, it's because you have those relationships. And so for me, you're right. Going forward here, there's a lot going on, but to have the opportunity right now to develop that relationship, to put yourself in a position where there's a trust and getting the very best player that you can get, that's the foundation to moving forward and continuing to not only drafting, but developing relationships and going forward with coaches and coaching staffs.
Obviously, A.J. DeBonce is right there to be had. I think the Jazz, if they want him, they can get him. They can make enough moves. A.J. could float around to the Washington people that, hey, I really want to be in Utah, which would be quite a surprise given all the stuff that we've heard about Utah. But nevertheless, he's here, and he's been comfortable here, and his parents and all that, and that'd be great. The knock on him is that, he's not a great distance shooter, right? He's not a great perimeter three-point shooter. Now, he's only 19 years old, so I'm not going to put a limit on him. From your perspective, he's got everything that he needs to do to be successful. If he can improve his outside shot, wow, he'd really be quite the bundle and difficult to handle. How do you get better at shooting? I think that's the bottom line that he needs to do to work on that. He needs to work on everything, but if he can improve himself and get to like 35% as a three-point shooter, he's really got something. So how do you do that?
I think, first of all, he has a skill set to start with that is really unique. And we've all watched him play, and I've watched him practice. And I think the first thing that just kind of jumps out at me is his ability to get into the paint and get into areas that he can take mid-range shots. There's a lot, there's a lot of pro players that don't shoot mid-range shots, and they're not comfortable with that. Well, AJ already has solidified the fact that he can get into the key, he can get into the baseline, he can take those shots that are difficult and he has the ability to put himself in positions because of his explosiveness and because of his great shooting ability in the mid-range. I think that a lot of guys struggle with that, and it's just a three. And whereas there's lots of different ways to score. So let's go back to that now. I think he is an accomplished shooter. He's an accomplished scorer. Where is he at in terms of three-point shooting? Well, number one, it's a different college is different than the NBA, and those adjustments will have to be made. But there is nothing in my soul that tells me that he can't be a good three-point shooter. And he already has so many different ways to attack the rim and attack the defenders that he's as good as anybody that I've seen coming out of college, to be honest with you. I mean, he's just really talented that way. Does he become a better three-point shooter over time? Absolutely. I mean, that's what they do for a living full time. So I have complete confidence that AJ will be able to take his game to the next level and be able to stretch defenses. And once they stretch those defenses with his ability to shoot three, it makes him that much better. So I just believe that the time will be spent. There's going to be a lot of help and support. And if we can get AJ here and in Utah, and it'll just change the environment of this community. And I'm confident in him. I'm confident that he can become a good three-point shooter. But you're right, it takes a lot of time. You got to spend time. He'll have coaches. He'll have support groups. He'll have everything he needs to continue to improve that three-point shooting. But there's nothing in me that says that he won't be a good or a great three-point shooter. I just believe that will happen over time, and that just makes him that much more dangerous and challenging to guard.
Darren Peterson came out over the weekend and said that creatine caused cramping. That's why he missed so many games. When you heard that, did that have the ring of authenticity? You doubt that story? How did that sit with you when you heard it?
That is a difficult one for being authentic and what's going on. And, the fact that there were multiple games that he didn't play, and I have no idea what was going on there, so I'm not casting any judgment on the young man, but it was just odd that there were times when he just didn't show up or he just didn't play, and so yes, is he a talent? Absolutely. Can he become an NBA superstar? Yes. Answer to all this, because he is skilled, but I think one is he's got to get his body and he's got to get that strength that he needs to become a better player, but yeah, the creatine and all of that, wherever he ends up going, I'm sure that the staffs and whatever organization is going to handle this young man, I think those things will be addressed. He is a talent, and I would hope that we'll see some growth and some development It's going to be a full-time job for him. Those things do make you a little bit nervous, but there's a lot of money invested in these young men, and I'm not down on him. I was disappointed at times during the season that he didn't really have a complete commitment to what was happening. I'm sure that whatever program and whatever organization, drafts him and gets him involved, I think they'll address those things. He is a talent, and he'll have to grow and develop, but I wouldn't give up on that young man. He's got too many skills. He's got too much size, too much length to not be a really good pro.
What's the number one thing you look for in talent?
Let me think about that for a moment. I think the thing that jumps out at me, number one, with talent is that as you're recruiting talent or as you're coaching talent, that there is, I'll go back to relationships and the importance of becoming a better player and becoming a more consistent player. And that was some of the things that troubled me watching him with being consistent. But I think with most young people and the people that I've coached, first and foremost was relationships. Second was making sure that day in and day out, that they were working on getting better and putting themselves in a position where they could be difference makers. And so I don't know that I have a perfect answer for that, but I will just say this, that the talent's there. I think the desire and the grit and the heart about it will develop over time, and he'll be a pretty special player.
So when Austin tells you what they're going to do, you tell us, and then we'll just all keep it on the down low, okay?
Yeah, I'm telling you right now. I saw Danny the other day. In fact, I was over at Riverside, and I chatted with him just for a minute, and they all seem to be in quite good spirits. And we will have opportunities to talk to Austin and kind of see where things are. I'm hoping to get up there sooner than later, and just kind of right now it's kind of a crazy busy time, but that is a group of an organization right now that is pretty excited about the future.
Yeah, there's no question about that. I had it turns out, I would say the privilege at the time, it was the opportunity. I knew Austin was going to be a basketball lifer one way or the other. I mean, I could tell right from his freshman year. I was the beat writer, as you know, during his entire time there. And there's a lot of dead time after games and before games or in locker rooms and airports and whatnot. And so we'd talk basketball. And he would question what you would do to me, or me he would question, well, what do you think? He did this, he did that, So he approached the game from an analytical mindset, a strategic mindset, but he just had the ability to really judge talent, I thought, because we would talk about it. So you talk about how you have confidence in him. I totally have confidence in him because I believe that he just has the mindset to develop talent, and something that it's a skill, but I can't really define it. And so that's why I have this confidence. And I'm wondering, as you dealt with him, what gave you that level of confidence that you have, like I do, like we both do, that they're going to make the right call?
Well, I've said this before, and I think that, coaching young men, every player wants to play. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's nobody that doesn't want to play and doesn't feel like they should be playing more. That's just the nature of it. And coaches have to make decisions, and players, you develop relationships, and it's always difficult when maybe you'd like to be playing more minutes or doing this more or whatever the circumstances were. The one thing with Austin was that we had many conversations, and listen, what great players don't want to play.
Yeah.
And there weren't as many opportunities for him in that situation and circumstance. It didn't mean that he couldn't play. He was. You don't become part of a collegiate basketball team without having skills and sets and all the things that you're capable of doing. But the one thing about one thing about Austin is that he just looked at the game differently than most 18, 19, 20-year-old guys. And he was thinking way beyond what was just happening at BYU.
Right.
And I think you guys have both seen that. And that's what I saw in him. And obviously he's 20 years in Boston. And he's now here with the Jazz. And the door's wide open to do special things. And we'll see how it plays out. But I have absolute confidence in him and in his mindset, his ability to organize, his ability to bring people together, all the things that are necessary to develop a culture and develop an organization long term that can create something really special here in Utah. So I would never, ever second guess him. And I haven't had a chance to get to him and spend time with him. He's so busy in doing things. But as a player, he's skilled, but even more so as a coach, just understood the game and understood the value of togetherness and unity and getting together and finding the best and making the best and the most out of players. And so he's in the right spot. I can't wait to see him and where he takes this program and what happens. And I do look forward to getting together with him at some point in time as things settle down. But I love him. I love his family, and this is their community, and this is their opportunity to make something really special happen here. It's not going to be easy, but he's the guy qualified to do it.
Steve, we appreciate it. As always, thanks for joining us. And as you take a deep dive on all these top players in this draft, we'll talk to you again going forward.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks. Have a good one.
All right, there's Steve Cleveland, former BYU basketball coach. 6 weeks of breaking this down, PK. You ready?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man.
This is what we've been waiting for.
6 weeks, and we got through 4 years of crap.
I know.
This is the most exciting time in a long time.
I did see people saying this is a dream come true for DJ and PK. I'm like, well, a deep playoff run would be better, but, you're not wrong.
Yeah. I mean,
this
we'll
is
have
gonna be
stories.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is no question about it. I was pulling for them to get number one, but if you would have told me going into it they got number two, I would have said, absolutely, I'll take it. I probably would have said that at 3.
Yes, I totally agree.
But 2 is right there. Everything you want is available to you from the management perspective. Everything. Whatever they want to do, they can do it. And you've got guys, DA sitting over there, and he's just like, yeah, okay, I got this. This is my wheelhouse. This is my specialty. And you got other guys, Jay-Z, who's been there for a long time. You got Austin, who's been there in the business, and he was doing it. Yeah, Steve knew that Austin said to me about Steve that wasn't the most complimentary.
Austin wanted to run the show even then.
But he did. He just had that mind about him. That's why when I saw him, I'd go to the airport and he'd be sitting over there. I'd go sit by him because I always enjoyed talking to him about basketball.
Always ready to talk basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was what he was about.
And for those of you who are wondering, well, 6 weeks to study 4 players, guaranteed Austin's studying more than 4 players. Guaranteed. Well, doesn't mean he's going to do anything else, but that was when he came to Utah. That was the first thing. It was short before the draft. It says we were preparing for everything in Boston because this is the time you get access to people and you need info in case they're a free agent or they become available in a trade. You got to do your homework now on everybody because you don't know what's coming in 2, 3, 4 years. Mm-hmm. So they're going to take a deep dive. We'll spend most of our time talking about 2, 3, 4, 5 guys. They'll be diving in on all these other guys. If the whole league thinks there's like 10 or 11 really good players at the top of this draft, they're all going to be doing homework on 10 or 11 players.
This was the purpose of the rebuild 4 years ago.
Right.
To get to this point.
To get these 2 opportunities.
And they got
the first 2 opportunities, okay. You're drafting 8, 9, 10, whatever. But you start drafting 2, 3, 4, 5, obviously 2 and 5 these last 2 years.
Well,
it's go time.
They got the player who was recognized as the third best talent, and just with enormous athletic ability. He needs I'm speaking of Ace, obviously, and he needs to harness it and go from there. And one of the things he said in the exit interview was get in the gym, and that's what I want to hear. Get in the gym, man. Get in that. That's where it's all. That's the lab. And that's what this is, as Steve said, this is their living now, and they need to put as much time as possible. Go look at Kobe Bryant videos where he talked about if I started at 4 a.m, that gave me an opportunity to outwork everyone, outwork every single one of my competitors, because if they got in, forget this 6 and 7 thing. Kobe was there at 4, and he had a routine that allowed him to work out 3 times a day. That's what I want to hear from these guys, because that's what it's about. That's the only way you're going to be able to achieve your potential, whatever it might be. And for guys like Ace Bailey and the kid that they end up taking in the draft, that potential is extremely high.
DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. More on the draft, the Jazz in the second slot, at least for now. Maybe they'll stay there. Stay with us, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome to This is Jay Scott and Ben Anderson.
I definitely think the league is just built around two-way players. You got to play both sides. You really have to have an impact. Your entire game plan can't just be disguising multiple bad defenders, and it's what the Jazz ran into with Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. It was just Rudy had to cover up so much, it just became too much for him, and the dam broke.
James Harden and Donovan Mitchell, I don't think, can play together. And I love this direction of where the NBA is going, by the way. How many one-way offensive players can you play at one time? At one point, it was how many non-shooters can you play at one time? And now combine that with how many one-way guys can you play at one time? One?
Yeah.
Maybe two? I think that will be where the Lakers run into trouble even when their players are back, or if Austin Reeves stays. I don't think you can have more than one non-defensive player. You know what? It might be the Nuggets' problem.
Catch Jake and Ben afternoons from 2 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Yak wants to give more stuff away, so let's do it. Caller 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE will be assigned a golfer in the PGA Championship this week. We're assigning listeners one of the top 25 players in the world. One listener will get the field. The winner will receive a Copper Rock logo golf bag and a $100 guest gift card. It's brought to you by Copper Rock, where the pros play. And PK, you're headed to Copper Rock this week.
Yeah, the women's tour is there. The ones who are trying to make it, and they're really good golfers, and they're playing there this week.
The Epson Tour, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And they've had their winners that have gone on and played on the LPGA Tour. So, yeah, it'll be a fun time. I'm looking forward to it. I've covered women's golf plenty of times over the years, high school, you name it, and they're really good. Absolutely.
I wonder how much Jazz talk there will be while you were there. St. George will be full of Jazz fans, excited that they have the number 2 pick.
Yeah, yesterday was a great day in Jazz history. And it's almost to the point where you can't screw this up. I mean,
you think the players are that good? There's no Darko Milicic in the group?
Or Cantor.
Dennis Cantor? We could go through the list of 1, 2, and 3 picks that haven't panned out.
Oh, for sure.
But if you go to the best drafts, there are still guys, and even if they pan out, they can be a nice player, but like they don't measure up. No. They don't measure up to the people around them.
That Darko Milicic draft was a good draft.
Mm-hmm.
Carmelo Anthony, Dwayne Wade, others, and they.
But didn't they go 1, 3, 5?
Yeah. I mean, Milicic, he wasn't a player. No, I think these ones.
Bosch went 4. Yeah.
Bosch was a good player. He had health issues.
Yeah. Cut his career short.
Yeah.
But 1, 4, and 5 got together in Miami and did all right.
I don't see a bust in this one. And you're drafting 2, and you're drafting a player that you can bring along at a pace that allows him to really flourish. And he doesn't have to be the guy. This guy, whoever it is coming into a ready-made winning situation. The Jazz are built to win this next season, in the 26-27 season. And this player is going to be able to provide an opportunity to learn how to be a professional and so many of them, they've been professionals now for a number of years in a sense.
Yes.
I mean, these guys,
Yes.
they're no surprise that this is where they are. This is what we've known for 2-3 years, that it was just a matter of time of working your way through the system of basketball, so to speak, and get yourself ready for this moment. And you do have this, and here you are. And away you go. And this is the start of what basically has been a several-year process training for this moment. And they all did what they needed to do, and the league requires you to play or to wait a year. So they play college ball, and then they go do their thing. And this is an exciting time. Well, I always felt that it had the potential to be a franchise-changing situation, and by getting the number 2 pick, it is a franchise-changing situation.
Either they change the franchise, or we'll look back and look at a massive opportunity squandered.
And I don't think it's going to be that.
Those are the only two things that can happen. Well, to your point, the top 4 players, can you miss? Even if they decided to trade back, which I don't think they'll do, but let's just assume somebody makes some incredible deal.
Right.
I don't know what kind of deal the Grizzlies and the Bulls would offer them, but let's just say they did. Maybe it's a 3-team deal, and they're just some incredible offer. If they trade back to 3 or 4, they're still getting a player for whom there's a ton of hype. If you pick the right one, you could be off and running.
I have, right now, 80% level of confidence that they will get a great player.
And the 20% rides on injury?
Well, who knows? Yeah. I mean, Reggie Lewis, Len Bias, the ultimate tragedies there. The same team, I don't know, ironically is the right word, but unfortunately.
They just won't do the Ricky Rubio, Johnny Flynn pick with Steph Curry sitting on the board.
I don't see it.
That's another all-time draft that had a lot of really good players in it.
And Minnesota, those are the same team, those 2 players.
Yes, Minnesota took them both at 5 and 6.
Flynn was an absolute bust.
Right.
Rubio was okay. Couldn't shoot, but he knew how to run a team. But Steph Curry's there. I mean, obviously, I don't even know who went number 1 in that year.
Blake Griffin.
Well, and Steph Curry should go number 1.
He should have, yes. DeMar DeRozan, James Harden, Blake Griffin, Steph Curry were all in that draft. And they were 4 of the top 9. Tyreek Evans, Hasheem Thabit, some guys who went early. Thabit was 2 and
it wasn't Thabit, the guy who was the highest pick ever to go to the G League. Yeah.
What a miss.
Wasn't a player.
No, wasn't a player. And James Harden, Steph Curry, and DeMar DeRozan were on the board.
Players.
Right?
Yeah. Harden at 36 and carried the Cavs the other day. Had a great.
Jrue Holiday was in that draft down at 17.
Very solid.
Yes.
Still playing
Winner. Can't carry a team by himself, but you put him on a good team and he will make big plays.
Yeah, solid human being, solid player. And that, but I'm expecting more. I'm expecting, as you said, when Jaren Jackson and Larry Markkinen are pushing towards the end, this young man combined with Ace Bailey are going to be the potential of carrying the franchise.
They're 10 years younger. So these need to be cornerstone pieces.
Right. I'm especially happy for the fans.
Jaren Jackson is 26, so. But nonetheless, still, Markin is 28. So
and they have good years ahead of them.
They do.
Yeah.
Signed for 3, and both could easily have 5.
Right.
I mean, Jackson could have more than that. I mean, he's a big guy. They don't have to be done at 31.
I wouldn't think he would be.
Right. But nonetheless, in 5 years, these guys are still just getting started. 18,
they're 24.
Yeah,
25.
19, 20-year-old guys, 24 and 25, just getting into their prime.
Right. Yeah. And they're going to come into a winning situation, and all that stuff that's gone on is out the door. And now it's about playing. And then I think that, too, with as much accumulation of talent, you don't want to be over there sitting on the bench with some, minor injury and you can't go tonight. No. You're going to want to be out there because it's going to be so much fun. I mean, winning is the ultimate drug in sports.
It is awesome.
And then just your dumb rec league softball team.
Yes.
Whatever it is. And most of our listeners have played something.
Just to stay on a court and pick up basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still here.
Right.
You guys go.
And you have a city league team in hoop, whatever it might be. You can, and now with the weather changing and it's changed, you can go to any park now that has a softball field and see guys and gals out there playing softball. And what do you want to do? You want to win. It doesn't matter. You want to win. And everyone feels good when you win. The food tastes better, as they say. And so these guys are no different, even though they're getting millions of dollars. They want to win, especially Markkanen has been losing. And I'm tired of hearing about how great he does at his friggin' Finnish team. I don't care about that, man. That doesn't, for the Finnish people, great. But that doesn't float my boat whatsoever. It's here with this team, and it starts now. For these guys, they need to be back in the gym, working their butts off, and the draft pick that they get in the summer league will be here, and then they go to Vegas, and then, maybe take a week or two off, and then come back to town and start going again. I was listening to the Washington Wizards GM, and he was talking about his guys. They're all back now. Mm-hmm. They're in the gym, their gym. That's where they need to be. He said some of them will go off to summer or international stuff, but right now they're there, and that's what this is about, setting the tone for what is to come. And Will Hardy, he had to play the game of occasionally you'd see the masterpiece of dog bleep and whatnot. Well, now it's on, man.
No, now he can hold him to a higher standard and say more. And he'll still have to play a little bit of the game. It's the NBA. You can't criticize players by name.
You want to just bury people left and right. I understand that.
Every game they lost last year was really important to get this pick. If they'd won one game they lost, they'd be fifth. And if the odds break the same way, they're sitting seventh in Sacramento. So he had to do what he had to do, and they went through it, and they got through it.
Right.
But now they can move the bar much higher. And to your point about there's a lot of good players and someone will be sitting on the bench, he can hold guys accountable now.
100%.
If they can't defend and they get beat and then they get beat again and he calls timeout and then they get beat again, sub them. Sub for him.
Yeah.
Get somebody else out there.
Put the Lion King in.
Stay between the line. Nice.
Right?
Stay between
What's
your
his
man
name?
and the hoop.
I don't even remember his name.
John Conchar.
Well, it's funny because you're right, it was. But for a minute, I did think Svi because he has problems with Svi too. And I'm kind of like, which older role player?
Svi Mikhailuk.
Yes. I want the Lion King, man. If he's gonna just ball out,
he's 30.
Yeah, we know Conchar is the Lion King because he's got the lion tattoo
he's got
on
the big
arm.
lion.
That's why it's never going to be
He anointed
Svi.
himself the Lion King, not me. Yeah. And these young dudes, man, Cody Williams, you want to get out there? Now I don't have to just go crazy because in that third quarter, Cody Williams made a shot. Wow. And somehow, wow. No more wow.
I know.
Did you win? Did you lose? What's up, guys? You want to play? Here's what you need to do. If you don't do it, I got somebody else. Kante George, if it analytically shows you suck defensively, great. I'll get somebody in there who can play. I got options now, man. And we're here to win. So bleep you, and you. Everything changes now.
Thank goodness.
Absolutely. This is what it's about. Right. You play to win. And they will play to win.
Going Sun Devil football coach.
No, I will not.
Okay.
No.
I know. Well, you played to win. All you had to say was the game, and you were there.
Now they will play to win. Everything will be towards winning. And that's what you want, man.
Yeah.
That's what every fan base wants. And Jazz Nation. Austin said it yesterday. I'm happy for Jazz Nation. I'm ecstatic for my neighbors and friends who have been lifetime Jazz fans. Good for them. And they've stuck with it. And here we go. And now it's time to start winning. Yeah, I'm excited for the season to start when it gets here for sure.
Well, this pick is about the future, in my mind. Somebody's
it's both.
Good for 10 or 12 years.
It's about now and it's about every year for the next decade.
Yes.
And if you want Bonza, he'll resign here, and maybe he ends up being the greatest player in franchise history.
Maybe they draft somebody else, and then he comes here at year 7.
Well, whatever. Yeah, maybe that player, if it's not AJ, is the best player in franchise history. It's possible. That's a high standard. The statue set a virtual impossible standard.
They really did.
And they showed up every freaking game.
There's somebody out there who's a 2-time MVP.
You can take, and then it's not just that. You didn't have to worry about, are they going to play 65 games so they could be eligible? I realize that rule didn't exist, but you didn't have to worry about it. They showed up 82 every freaking season. And if they didn't, you knew darn well they had a legitimate reason why it didn't happen. And you were okay with it because they never dogged it. They didn't sit out. And that's the standard, guys. And you've got to strive to achieve that.
DJ and PK, more on the draft coming up. Top of the hour. A guy who actually got to fly back to Gotham. A guy who watched a lot of A.J. DeBonta basketball this year. Kevin Reynolds, former BYU beat writer for the Salt Lake Tribune, now the Jazz beat writer. He's going to join us at 9 o'clock. Stay with us.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeCoe.
The head coach of the University of Utah, Alex Jensen, kind enough to hang out with us.
I knew there's not any one person or one thing to blame, but the decline with the basketball at the University of Utah, I knew it had gone down. We played 4 top 10 teams at home, and we played Arizona was number 1 in the country, and the place was half full. And I remember walking out, and it was the first time I got pissed off because things had just slid, and it's everything. There's just a disconnect, I think, through the community. I can't count how many people that came up and said, yeah, we've had tickets, or we used to have tickets. Everybody remembers going to a camp when they were young, and they have memories of a game and stuff. It takes a while to build. The connection's been lost. And it doesn't help that the team changes as much as it does every year. I'd love to have the continuity, but that's just not with the rules the way they are now. That's not the world we live in.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK brought to you in part by Sound Sleep Medical. Get a free sleep screening and consultation when Scotty G and the Coach broadcast live from Sound Sleep on Wednesday. Visit Sound Sleep Medical with 6 convenient locations across Utah and start sleeping better today. No snoozing for the next 6 weeks or 10 years, depending on how it plays out.
No, but once they got that number 2 pick, I slept better last night.
I bet you did.
Yeah, like a baby.
A bonus, baby?
A bonus. I see what you done there.
Reaction pouring in from Jazz fans. How about the Jazz picking number 2? Bart, I'm reserving my parking place for the parade next June. Bart might need to cool his jets a little bit. Not sure about the parade next June. I'm ready for massive improvement. Not expecting a parade.
Well, it'll be a fun ride. And who knows where it tops out. So many variables are involved. But you want some fun times along the way. You're going to get them. That's what's going to be cool. And the winning ways are going to return. And now we'll see how far it goes. No one can predict that. There's so much unknown still. But once that happens, take off from there. You just want to be in the mix. Be in the mix is fun. If you are looking for your satisfaction or mood to be determined by the ultimate prize, you're probably going to be disappointed because obviously only one gets it. But be in the mix, man. Have an opportunity and have a sustained opportunity and have guys who want to be here and looking to build this thing. And I think that's what you'll get. And where it goes from there remains to be seen, obviously, but let's see what's up. And so that's what's the exciting point of attention that I'm going to have. And it starts, obviously, with the draft and then the summer league, and then the season will be here, and then away you go on that. So I think there'll be good times. And that's what you want, man. I want good times. And losing, and with the intent to lose, you found some type of intrigue and interest in watching the young dudes, but we're way beyond that now. And those young dudes, too, what's cool about that is the expectation for these guys. Hey, you got plenty of playing time here. Filipowski, you were a second-round pick, but because of the situation, you received high first-round minutes. Well, you want to continue that. Everyone, Isaiah Collier, there was times Isaiah Collier didn't come out of the game.
He was playing big minutes the second half of the season.
Right.
His role was massive.
Right.
And it's going to be different going forward, but it's up to him how different.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And that forces those guys to elevate their games. And that's from a management standpoint. That's what you want. You want to play? Force Will Hardy to play you. And he will if you force the issue.
Michael says, print the AJ jerseys now. Dan, they're getting AJ, no matter the cost.
I think that's a realistic possibility, yes.
Ooh, no matter the cost? I have a problem with that.
But the cost won't be outrageous to where you think, wow, you went ridiculous. I don't think so.
So then the cost does matter. And they will, your point is they will drive a good,
well, everything is no
bargain.
matter the cost within realism because Washington only has to move down one. You only have to move up one.
So that whole notion that they're going to trade Ace Bailey in the number 2 pick to get to number 1, that seems to me like overpaying.
Well, you're sort of running in place.
Scale.
I don't know what you've gained.
Right, and I don't think they'll do that, nor do I think they should do that.
No, so
I'm opposed to that.
Well, that won't be the cost.
Right. Well,
it won't. Washington, you can give Washington value, and all they have to do is move back one single spot. And Washington may like any of the others more. So they may be thinking they're getting free stuff here.
And who doesn't like free stuff?
Right.
Hey, Yock's going to give away free stuff in the 9 o'clock hour. So you're going to have a shot at a golf bag and $100. We'll do that coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. And we'll talk with Kevin Reynolds, Utah Jazz beat writer for the Salt Lake Tribune. He's coming up right after the break, right here on The Zone. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're joined now by Kevin Reynolds, Utah Jazz beat writer for the Salt Lake Tribune. Kevin, good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Good. Thanks for coming on the air. We appreciate it. And I will say that you're the Jazz beat writer now. You used to be the BYU beat writer. Has it struck you how odd it is that you really have a front row seat to the A.J. DeBonsa show?
Yeah, I just keep following around, I feel like, at this point. I mean, also went down to Utah Prep his high school year. So, it's been basically 3 years of this at this point.
Kevin Reynolds, stalker.
Yeah. And so you were back there. What was it like? Take us inside as to how the things worked.
Yeah, well, really anticlimactic. I mean, I know on the show they go from 14-1, and they also take the break where you didn't know if the Jazz were going to get, 1 through 4. But there, it's just they start 1 through 14, and it takes about like 5 minutes. So it's really there's no anticipation. It just went Washington Wizards. You knew that within a minute, and then the Jazz were next, and you knew that within 30 seconds of the Wizards. So, I mean, in that sense, it was quick, and really there was just, you took the note, and then that was it, that the Jazz were going to go number 2, and then you go talk to Austin Ainge about what he's going to do. But the really interesting part about that room was, for a team that has never had any draft lottery luck with their own pick, basically won the lottery twice because the Jazz get the second pick, and then they draw the lottery balls again for the third pick, and the Jazz won it again. And so they had to redraw, obviously give it to Memphis. And, Austin Ainge was so excited, I feel like, in that room that really nobody has any reactions to. I mean, Washington won the first pick, and I do not think there was even a smile from Washington's side. But Austin, had an audible yes, was fist pumping in the air when the Jazz won, and even reached over to Memphis's GM and gave him a fist bump when they won the third pick. So I think there was a lot of excitement for the Jazz because finally, something goes right in that room for them. And also now they have a ton of options for the future for the next, 10 years for what they actually want to do.
So you're in the room. So you had to give up your phone, right? Because they want this super secret. And then they keep you in the room for how long after this? Because they want the show to be a surprise.
Yeah, it's like an hour and a half because the actual drawing happens at 1 local, but the television show doesn't happen until 2, and obviously the television show takes forever till like 2:30 to actually announce all the picks. So you're really just in there, and the actual drawing takes 5 minutes. So for the next like hour and 25 minutes, you're just standing around, and all the people who are representatives, whether they're GMs, whether they're whoever they sent, whoever the team sent, they're just kind of mingling about. So for the teams that didn't win anything, obviously they're explaining away what happened or, trying to make sense of it themselves. And then for a guy like Austin Ainge, he's in there, just kind of his first reaction, his authentic reaction to what they're going to do at number 2. So it's a really long time to just be sitting there waiting for something to happen or just to leave with no phone, no anything, and really no contact with the outside world.
So you saw him be excited. Did you see others be disappointed?
He was really the only one who had a reaction. I mean, it wasn't like there was some big reaction for the Pacers. It wasn't like really anything like that. I didn't really – even Washington did have a reaction, which is also what made the Austin the Austin fist pump, I think, so interesting because and also this was his first time in the room.
Yeah.
This – the Jazz have sent the one funny story I think from Austin that he told us was that he went around, and since he's only been on the job for less than a year, he was like, who wants to do this? Who wants to go and be the representative? And pretty much everybody else on the Jazz has been the representative, and it's been a failure. Ryan Smith, Justin Bennett, Danny Ainge, his own father, he talked about that. And so for him, I thought the reaction was so genuine to actually winning the lottery for a team and a franchise that has been so disappointed, losing so much over the last 4 years and have so many battle scars at this event. But yeah, it wasn't like there was a huge sigh or anything like that for teams that it didn't go well in. Definitely a very different feeling than you see on the actual television show, and I think people do have authentic reactions to not winning.
Well, I wouldn't have blamed the Pacers if they had a negative reaction because that was bad. I wouldn't have blamed the Kings either. It wasn't as bad as the Pacers, but those two definitely had bad luck in the draft lottery. I'm curious, with under 85 minutes to kill in the room, did you get to talk to Austin much? And if so, what did he have to say?
Yeah, no, definitely talked to him for, probably 20 minutes, honestly, just because what else are you going to do?
Right.
And so, no, but the interesting part for me was that he didn't rule out almost anything on the table. I mean, even A.J. Devonza, who obviously I would imagine it will be the number 1 pick, but, he had the quote to us saying essentially he doesn't think Washington has made up their minds and they haven't made up their minds. So, anything is really on the table for this pick. And he's not looking at it. I mean, I know there's an opportunity here, and everybody in Salt Lake believes that this is a playoff team next year, or at least will push for the playoffs next year on some level after you made the Jaren Jackson trade and you have Larry Marketing, Keontae George, Ace Bailey. But he doesn't look at this pick, or at least this is what he said yesterday. He doesn't look at this pick as adding to a playoff team or, filling a hole or a need in this playoff roster for the next 5 years. He looks at this pick as a kind of a 10-year investment, and hopefully this player becomes either the best player or one of the best players that the Jazz have on this team for the next 10 years, and maybe he can, be a guy who could carry a franchise himself the day after, Lowry Marketing and Jaren Jackson and kind of this phase and this iteration of the Jazz either makes a deep playoff run or, whatever happens with this thing. So, I think those are the skill sets he's looking at. The other interesting part, talking to him, is that this decision I don't think is going to be made about just a body of work of college. Where Darren Peterson, obviously a lot of people have him going number 2. We have talked a lot about the cramping issue and him sitting out of games. We've seen it front row with him playing half a game against AJ and BYU, was really good, then sits the last 16, 20 of that game. But, this decision I think is going to be made, it's going to go beyond just 6 weeks of him sitting out of games. I think it's going to be going back to his days at Prolific Prep, where a lot of people had him as, potentially the number 1 pick. So I think there's going to be a lot of phone calls to, Chapel Hill and Lawrence and Durham, but also Provo too, because I don't think they've ruled out necessarily that AJ could be a Utah Jazz player in some capacity, depending on what Washington wants to do.
Yeah, and we've had the opportunity, and it's been fun to follow AJ up close at games and all that stuff and see what he's about. He seems like a solid kid. The family's involved, and it seems like, they enjoy it out here. You could speak to it because you've had a front row opportunity to speak to all those people about how much, and it's unusual. We used to hear, well, people don't want to come to Utah. AJ and his family came, and they seem to like it. It doesn't seem like it's that difficult for them just to tweak it a little bit by telling Washington, hey, this is really where we want to go. Go ahead and make a deal here. Do you think that, or what do you think their feeling is as far as the opportunity to stay in Utah if that's what they want? Not necessarily what the Jazz want, but that they want.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't talked to them in the last 24 hours or really about the specific idea of them going to the Jazz and AJ playing for the Jazz. But overall, I think he is a rare prospect, to your point, that has spent a lot of time in Utah. 2 years is a lot of time. He's been at both levels in Utah. They chose to come to Utah in Utah prep and really took a huge gamble there. So, I mean, he does understand Utah, and I think he's liked his experience with Kevin Young. But the other part that I go back to is AJ has also really wanted to be the number one pick. And he said that he's wanted to be the number one pick basically since I've known him, since he was a high schooler. And the Washington Wizards have the number one pick. Now, what happens after that? I don't really know whether that means, does he like Utah enough to try to get himself to Utah? I really don't know that answer. But, I mean, the two things that I think AJ's been very consistent on since he's been here in college is that he wants to play in the NBA, but he also really feels like he deserves and wants to be the number one pick. Even when he was going to Kansas and played Derek Peterson, and it looked at that time like he maybe would be passed by Peterson for the number one pick. So, to me, that's my first reaction to that. Is there going to be any manipulation of the draft process or trying to, go to Utah? I don't think he'd be opposed to playing in Utah. I don't think that it would be one of those things. I just think it would be, it seems like it's been his goal for a very long time to hear his name first in the draft.
Kevin Reynolds joining us, Utah Jazz beat writer for the Salt Lake Tribune. You were the BYU writer. And you get to see a lot of stuff when you travel with the team and when you're there long before the game starts and all that. And I'm curious if you could look at some of the interactions that maybe you had a chance to see or some of the conversations you had when you're killing time before a game. How deep do you think the love affair runs between the Jazz and AJ? He's obviously very talented, and he's obviously super likable. Can you tell to what level they have a real passion for this kid and his career and his potential?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something I probably need to really fully report out now as it gets very real, because obviously this was going to be, there was a real chance that the Jazz just got the sixth pick, and AJ's not even in the conversation. But, for everything, AJ, going back to when he was a high school senior and he was going to Utah prep, and during that process, he's been a Boston Celtics fan for a long time, but he's also been aware of Danny Ainge and the Ainges for a long time, and so they have that connection. And now at the Utah Jazz with Danny and Austin in the front office. At the time, it was only Danny. So there's just been a lot of weird for the Jazz and for BYU. There's been a lot of these weird connections with AJ and a lot of these weird touch points with AJ that have kind of continuously furnished this relationship and kept it going. Even down to the NBA stuff with Kevin Young and Kevin Durant. Who is AJ's favorite player? Who are the people that he looks up to? He's talking about Kevin Durant. Kevin Young happens to be the coach at BYU who coached Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and can get them on, FaceTime and talk to him about that. So there's always been these just weird connections that have always kind of brought the DeBonzas to BYU, to Utah Prep, to the NBA and having those connections with the Utah Jazz. So it's just been kind of, I don't want to say it's been this forced relationship, but it's almost been this, it always just keeps taking the next step forward. And also the Jazz have had a ton of chances to see AJ play because he's in Provo. Danny Ainge is front row at pretty much every single one of these BYU home games, right next to Brian Santiago, sitting right there watching AJ DeBonza play. Also, he broke Danny Ainge's record. These are a lot of things that the relationship is there, the BYU connection is there. But ultimately, I do feel like this decision for the Jazz they're either going to have to force their way into getting AJ with a trade or something like that, or they're going to have Washington just not want to pick them. Like, I don't know how much this is really in their hands necessarily. If Washington is dead set on picking AJ, they do have the ability to do that now with the number 1 pick, and the Jazz have number 2. But, I mean, the relationship has been there now for – this is going on a 3rd year of them having the best prospect in the world either 4 hours or 1 hour away from the practice facility. So there's been plenty of time to develop that relationship.
Yeah, and plus they're going to move the practice facility down the south town. It's going to be closer to Provo. What you're saying, Kevin, is God wants AJ in a Jazz uniform. You don't want to say it, but I've got the seniority, so I'll say it, Kevin.
Well, yeah, you could say that. I can't get away with that now.
Wait another 30 years and you could say it too.
Kevin, you've just made a series of wise choices right there. I don't know. I'm really impressed with your brilliance.
Kevin knows me, and so he knows where I'm coming from. You got 6 weeks now. From a work perspective, what are you going to be doing to lead up to the draft? Because there's all sorts of possibilities for you.
Yeah, I mean, it starts now with the combine and talking to Boozer, Peterson, Wilson, and obviously AJ about are they meeting with Utah? Like, what do those meetings look like? And also, who are they as people and basketball players? I think that's stuff we're going to be looking into because the Jazz have a ton of options here to take. Like, taking AJ off the table, let's just say that Washington takes him. You have 3 completely different players essentially that you could build around and see what you want to do. Do you want to add a Darren Peterson and add like this, in theory, really generational guard who can score? We've seen him when he's healthy score with the best of them, and that would, in my mind, make a lot of sense because not just for the future, but also just in theory for what they're building right now. They have a ton of length. They have a ton of size. Walker Kessler, if they re-sign him, it goes Kessler, Markkanen, and Jaren Jackson Jr. But that guard line, adding another guard to help Keontae out, help Ace Bailey out, that would make a lot of sense just in terms of the next playoff push and whatever this iteration of the Jazz looks like. But you could also go the opposite route. You could almost have the, Cam Boozer, that would make some sense too because he's playing, he gives you a little bit something different than what Walker Kessler and Lauri Markkanen and Jaren Jackson can do, even if he is, helping out in the front court. And also you have the connection. You have the Boozer connection with the Jazz and Carlos Boozer playing for the Jazz, now working for the Jazz. That makes a lot of sense. And Caleb Wilson, we've all seen him when he played here in the Delta Center for that scrimmage. He reminds me a lot of AJ in a lot of ways, in some of the ways he plays the game and his length. And you could just have, in theory, you could have a huge lineup out there defensively if you have Ace and Keontae even, but also Kessler and Markkanen and then Wilson and then Jackson. So there's just so many ways they can take this. And I think that's the one thing that Austin Ainge said yesterday. One of the things is he said, getting a top 4 pick, even 2 or 4 or 3, or if it was 1, definitely changes the way they're going to approach this draft and definitely is a big deal. If you land at 5, I think it's a much different thing. At 5, I think you're talking about Kingston Flemings and Keaton Wagler and a couple of other guys who I'm not saying are bad players, but it's just a completely different ballgame in the top 4 in this draft. And the amount of ways you can mix and match this, I think, will be interesting. And I think it'll be up to the Jazz's preference in a lot of ways. But they said they want to take the best player at 2, the one, regardless of fit. So who is that, though? I think that's the next 6 weeks is right. Like, who is actually that player for them?
Kevin, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us. Good luck with the dozens of stories that you will be asked to write. People have all kinds of bright ideas, not realizing there's still only 24 hours in your day.
Well, I appreciate it. I'll do my best.
How about Kevin Reynolds winning the lottery? He didn't have to go through the 4 years of losing, and he gets on the beat now. Kevin, that's some smart thinking right there.
Yeah, February to now, I said, all right, I'm going to skip the rebuild. I'll just go to this.
Just walking into the Trib telling people how it's going to be. Good work, Kevin. Walk around like you own the place. What the heck?
Appreciate it, guys. See you.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Kevin Reynolds, Utah Jazz beat writer for the Salt Lake Tribune. DJ and PK we have to give away more stuff because we said we were going to, and y'all could get super mad and start throwing stuff in there. That's never a good look. So, you ready, Yuck? This is it.
Always.
Caller 12. How many phone calls do you get on average for these?
Oh, 30 plus.
Yeah. Caller 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. He says 30 plus because after 30 he ain't answering.
Well, no. I
clear
just
the lines and lock them up.
Our phone bank has 10 at a time, and I'll usually get through at least the first list, and it'll fill right back up. It keeps coming.
And then you just hang up on all of them, put it on busy, and enjoy some peace and quiet.
I just let it ring.
Until Lloyd comes in and starts bugging you.
Fair.
Caller 12, 801-575-ZONE will be assigned a golfer in the PGA Championship this week. We're assigning listeners one of the top 25 players in the world, and then one listener gets assigned the field. The winner receives a Copper Rock logo golf bag and a $100 gas gift card. It's brought to you by Copper Rock, where the pros play. Call now, 801-575-ZONE. More on the Jazz and the draft, and Kevin just brought up a couple of what I believe PK would refer to as salient points. We'll get to those next. Stay with us.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeCoe.
Why is BYU not coming to Logan? It's great that they're playing BYU, but why is there no return trip? Getting this rivalry just on the books in some way, shape, or form is huge. For Utah State, they need quad one games. In the landscape of college basketball, it would not surprise me one bit if Utah State called up Kentucky or called up Kansas. And I wouldn't surprise me one bit if Kentucky's like, sure, hold please, click. Kansas, click. Because I don't think these teams are interested in building other teams' resumes, especially G5 resumes.
The bottom line is the power schools have always and definitely currently hold the cards. For BYU to work with Utah State and get 2 dates on the calendar in today's basketball world, I mean, it's definitely a win. It's a win for both. It's a win for the state. I wish last year they were on the schedule.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2. Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Picking second will be the Utah Jazz.
Couldn't be more happy. We think there's a lot of talented guys that can help us for the next 10 years, and we're glad for Jazz Nation that we got it, and now we got to make the right pick.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Gotta make the right pick. Have truer words ever been spoken, PK? Gotta make the right pick.
Yeah, you can say that about every draft, but especially this one, man. You may literally not be in this territory again. Speaking of Austin Ainge's career as an administrator for the Jazz or in the NBA, right? In fact, you hope it's not the case that you are the second pick this time and then you make the great pick and away you go. And your team is winning, so you're not in this position. The good thing about it is, and I don't say this often, but I think this applies in this case, it's going to be really hard to make a bad pick.
That's awesome. Slacker Radio Headlines brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 1-855-TRAJAN1 or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. We've been talking about the draft all morning long. That is the story of the day. We're hip deep in it. So that is the one thing we need to recap here. And PK, there are great drafts. The LeBron draft in 2003 was loaded, and the top 5 guys, 4 of them could really play. 3 of them teamed up in Miami and went back-to-back and went to 4 NBA Finals in a row and won 2 of them, the middle 2, second and third times in, with Bosh, Wade, and LeBron, who went 1-4-5. And Carmelo went at 3, and then, oops, at 2. Oops.
Yeah, and I don't think that's going to be the case here. It's going to be hard to screw this up.
What about, and I think they'll do this because it's the way they talk. Obviously, I haven't really, I haven't sat in the room and saw the process. But you got to take even a deeper dive than the top 4. You got to consider everything. You look at the 2009 draft was really good. Blake Griffin, James Harden, Steph Curry, DeMar DeRozan. That's a lot of talent at the top of the draft, but they went 1-3-7-9. Somehow in this whole notion, every draft has a top 2, a top 4, a top 5, whatever it is. Somehow guys like Hasheem Thabeet, Ricky Rubio, and Johnny Flynn, nothing against those 3, got in the same mix with Harden, Curry, and DeRozan. I mean, Griffin at 1, you can understand. Maybe not the best pick, but still a good pick. Well, certainly not the best pick because Steph Curry was there. But a good pick. But there's some real swings and misses in there with the beat and, taking Johnny Flynn 1 pick before Steph Curry. Yikes. I mean, at least Rubio played in the league a long time.
Well, and then you look at the damage that it did to Minnesota's franchise.
Yes. And so to your point about Acuff, okay, we got a college coach here who's not established a bit of a track record. He's established a massive track record. So you got to look at this guy, and now the whole world may be looking at him at number 5, but if you're drafting 2 or 3 and you think he's the second or third best player, you got to go against the norm and make the pick, or you got to trade down and make the pick. You can't, if you really believe in that guy, the draft is just littered with the best player doesn't go 1 and the next best player 2 and then the next best player
normally,
3. No. So you've got to think outside the box and not get locked in. Now, if you identify DeBonce as the best player and you're drafting 2, you got a chance to move up and get him. You've got plenty of assets. You got expensive players. You've got less expensive players. You got a guy in Kessler who, I don't know, maybe it's a sign and trade and he's part of it. You know, I mean, there's no limit. You got future draft picks you can move. You've got young guys who are still under club control that you can move. I mean, to me, Ace Bailey's off limits. Forget about it. Don't stop. We're just wasting time on a phone call. We've got other assets. Talk about something else because it's just not happening. And it's not a negotiating position. It's not happening. I think start again. Ace Bailey and whoever they get now, whether it's AJ or somebody else, these 2 guys need to be pillars for a decade. You build around them. You plug them in. They play 30, 35 minutes. They do their thing. They deliver. One day you have to pay them very big contracts because they're very good players. That's what they need to get out of this. I don't care what position they play. I don't care if it duplicates what Markkanen and Jackson bring. They are 26 and 28, and for next season they'll be 27 and 29. I think Markkanen's birthday is like a week and a half away. You're better at tracking that stuff than me, but it's late May, I think. Jackson's in a couple more months. They'll be 27 and 29, and I'm as interested in winning right now as anybody else. But to your point, these moments don't come along where you have a high pick and the draft is very deep and very talented. This is a rare opportunity. You've got to get a pillar, a cornerstone, whatever word you want, somebody you're going to count on for the next decade. The 2030s need to belong to Ace Bailey and whoever they're about to pick.
I think they will.
Good.
I have a high level of confidence.
Excellent.
And as Kevin Reynolds was just saying of the Salt Lake Tribune, that he spoke to Austin yesterday, and it was all about the options that are available. This team and this management team has a plethora of options that rarely occur. And it's not, none of them are out of desperation. You know, you can go back basically from 4 years ago with the new ownership and the management team. They were back up against a wall, so to speak, and having to trade Mitchell. So you weren't going to necessarily get a great deal, but I think they did pretty good. Here, you're dealing completely and totally from a position of strength. If you just stood pat and did nothing, you're going to get a really good player.
The thing they had going for him in the Mitchell deal, because the weakness part of the deal was the whole league knew Mitchell wanted out. It was just a matter of time. The league's full of smart people. They all knew. What the Jazz had going for them and what they used very well to their advantage was they got more than one bidder. And so they got, getting those 3 draft picks and getting Markkanen. There's some other stuff in there, but that's the headliner. That was a good deal. And they did it because they had leverage because the Knicks and the Cavs were both interested.
Well, now they still have leverage.
They have a ton of leverage.
They could sit still. And they could not do anything and just will take best player available minus the one who goes first. And that is a strong point to do. My guess is, and it's 100% guess, is they don't do that. I'm not expecting, but anticipating DeBonce in a Jazz uniform.
Not expecting, but anticipating.
Yeah.
It's a fine line.
Well, expecting is that it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen.
So you think it's like a 50-50 call? Or do you think it's better than that?
I think it's up to them. Right now, I would put that at a 50-50 because I don't think they know. My limited conversations here since the thing happened is that they legitimately don't know. They may feel, okay, they feel this is something we've got to explore. There's no question about that. But they have an opportunity. Where's the camp? Back in Chicago, they usually have it, to meet with these dudes at a much higher level. They do have intense visual research on AJ, and also they've spoken to him. They have a relationship there.
I think they
Boozer, I think they have a little bit because of his father, and his father's savvy enough to know what this organization is about. He's not going to tell his son anything that isn't true. So they've got that there. But the other guys, Peterson's a wild card, man. I mean, creatine, okay. That sounds a little fishy, but not outrageously fishy. Plus, he's 18, 19 years old, and he's got all these people telling him, hey, don't screw this up, man. Next year, so much money is at stake, blah, 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 blah. You can see where that's confusing to a young man.
And I think that is where you've got to think Ace Bailey. It's easy to be cynical about athletes. We can all go over 100 or more headlines, maybe 1,000 headlines that really support that level of cynicism. But think about what was being said a year ago about Ace Bailey. Didn't want to be here, leverage, playing hardball, agent. Now you get to a year later, he's changed his representation. And the way he carried himself pretty much every minute of the season he was here was completely different than that rep.
100%.
And it's what we heard from his coach. It's what we heard from his teammates. It's what we heard from people who saw him around town. It's what we all saw for ourselves watching games. And if you're in the arena, watching him sit on the bench and celebrate with teammates.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What was floating out there was a created thing trying to get leverage, and it's not real.
And like usual, get out here, be a part of it, see what this is like, and then they end up liking it. It's not that Mitchell and Hayward didn't like it, but they were searching for other stuff. Mitchell may have gotten caught up in the social aspects that were going on at the time, and that's his right to do that. But they chase stuff in the circumstance of Hayward. He chased something that he never found. And I kind of think Mitchell is doing the same thing. I think he's chasing something that he's not going to find.
The number of players who've left here, and I have heard from people whose names you would know, and you would know why they know, that there's a level of regret. Boozer said it a million times. You've all heard it. D. Wills has come on our show and said it. So those are out there. But before they said it on our show, I heard they said it to other people, and then they repeated it. I've been told Gordon Hayward has said that. Now, do they find a way to get him in the organization? Because the number of people that they have who can say, I left here, I wish I hadn't, don't get caught up in what I got caught up in, regardless of what that is. For Donovan Mitchell, there was some of the social stuff. I also think there was always an urge to go home. Connecticut, the New York thing, and you can speak to that. You grew up in Jersey. It's just such a big deal. That's the dream.
I get it.
And Joe Ingles talked about it a little. He didn't want to talk about it a lot and give up Donovan because he likes Donovan. But, yeah, he thinks he's going to play in New York one day, even if it's for a year or two at the end of his career, the way Tom Chambers played here at the end of his career. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's all that stuff out there. But Boozer and D. Will, and they come back and spend a lot of time here. So I think they got to dive in real deep. I think they love DeBonsa. I think they love the player. I think they've gotten to know the person in the family. I think they love him. So I don't know what the number is, whether I should say it's 30%, 50, or 70%, because they don't control it all, and I don't know how quote-unquote reasonable the Wizards will be, what kind of a bargain they like, how much do they love him, how much do they love Peterson. That's the thing, is to go out and get the info on Peterson, who is the wild card, who is the unknown, and I don't see any reason they'd have a lot of that. That seems to me to be the most important.
Well, that's what they're going to discover.
Biggest thing, and I'm fully on board with them doing research on all these other guys. We'll trust them until we know otherwise. If they decide, hey, Steph Curry is slipping and he shouldn't.
And then they play the game, and they're going to play the game.
Liars Club is in session.
We really love Peterson.
Oh, yeah.
We think by far he's the best, and that message floats across the country. Wait a second. I got a guy over here in DA who's won titles, who's made shrewd moves, and if I find out he really likes him, whoa, I better start thinking differently. Maybe we really like him more. It's the old thing that, wait a second, is the 3-star SC offered him? Oh, he's a 4-star now. SC offered him. So
hold on, Danny Ainge wants this guy.
I'm getting him.
That
Who
is
has
so
more
true.
experience doing this than this dude who's 67 years old and has been in the league since he's 22 years old? He never left the league. He went into broadcasting, but that's not leaving the league. And then he went into management with the Suns and so forth, and in Boston, and he's got a track record. There's a lot of stuff that can go on here.
Do the Wizards like one or two of the Jazz young players who are not named Ace Bailey?
Oh, Keontae George, if you're just going to do that.
Yeah, I don't even know about offering George up for this. If you're convinced you can get a good
four
player,
guys, and he's on the list.
I get it. Of the four, he's the one I can most see them, but even that I don't like it. I think the price is too high. There've got to be two great players in this draft, and if they think it's Peterson, it's Peterson. But if it's somebody else, it's somebody else.
Down one.
Yeah,
I anticipate DeBonce being in a Jazz uniform.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Feedback of the day brought to you by Half Price Granite. Transform your outdated kitchen with Half Price Granite. $25 per square foot installed. Visit halfpricegranite.com. May 14th. Circle it. It's 3 days away. Beehive Meals is going to open a new production facility in Ogden. Catch Scotty G and the coach live on the air covering the grand opening with full KSL Sports Zone energy. That'll be coming up later this week, May 14th. Beehive Meals cranking out the food, PK. Facility in Ogden, that means more jobs. How about that?
Oh, I've had their
positive.
food. Yeah, it's good. It's real good.
Question of the morning, how about the Jazz picking number 2? John, well, since Carlos Boozer's in the Jazz front office, it's probably going to be Cam Boozer. I don't think it's that cut and dry, John.
It could end up being if they decide to go in that direction.
It could. I mean, they could dig into this and realize, wow, Washington it's just going to be an arm and a leg to move up to number 1. We're not doing it. And then they could decide, nope, Peterson's not the guy. It's Boozer. It could happen.
Cam Boozer's a highly skilled player.
But I wouldn't use the word probably in there. He's highly skilled. Has there ever been a college basketball player that was more clear who his dad was? I think a lot of things you say about Carlos, and we watched him for years here, you say about Cam, both positive and negative. Does not have high-end NBA athleticism. It would blow you away if you just walked into your Saturday morning game. But I'm talking at the NBA level, 7-footers who are explosive. He's not that.
He's not that, no. But
skilled, highly skilled, can go left, can go right, can hit the medium range shot, can go to the hoop and finish in traffic despite the fact he can't jump over people.
Yeah, he's highly skilled.
Yeah, highly skilled. Highly.
My guess is it doesn't come to that. If it came to that, I'd be perfectly fine with it. Not that what my opinion matters to the Jazz by any specialty. I think that the situation here, all DeBonce has to do is just, we want to be here. Don't take me.
A very subtle nod of the head.
Yeah.
I'm not here to embarrass anybody or make a scene.
Right.
But let's be clear.
Yeah.
I didn't choose to play high school or college basketball in D.C. than I did in Utah.
Yeah.
Enough said.
Right. And the Jazz just then, okay, we'll give you a XYZ, flip. You're still going to, you may get the better player when it's all said and done. And that's not till 2040.
Yeah, then we'll go back. Someone else will go back and write that story.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got Larry who says, as long as it's not Peterson or Boozer. Okay, Larry, I hope you're not running down Peterson and Boozer. I suspect that's just he loves AJ.
I get it. I'm not running down those guys.
Bill says it's almost certainly going to be Peterson or Boozer, Larry. Lighten up. It's like, see, that's the other thing is like, yeah, you know how you love AJ? You know how we love AJ? You know how everybody loves AJ? The Wizards are part of everybody. They could just go, we're taking AJ. Sorry, click.
It could.
Yeah.
It could. Yeah, it could. Yeah, they're right.
And then does Austin want to go bid against himself trying to make something happen? Or wait for 7 years and get him a free agent?
They'll figure it out. They got 6 weeks to figure it out.
All right, we're all done. DJ and PK, we're out of here. Scotty and the coach are next right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.